All right. StreamYard says we are live. So, good evening, peoples, and welcome to another episode of the Wrestling Show here on the Unloaded Media channel. Tonight, with us, as always, we have Mr. David Bowling, Kingpin. How are you tonight?
Not too bad, man. Good to see everybody.
And also with us tonight, we have Mr. Buck Stanley, otherwise known as Gun Loving Grandpa. How are you tonight, Buck?
I'm doing good. Thanks for the invite.
Yep, not a problem. Yeah, we were talking pre-show. Neither one of you guys got to see Dynamite this past week, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, there was some good matches on that show. And they're setting up what looks like a possible feud between Kenny Omega and Orange Cassidy, of all people, which was kind of interesting. And you guys remember the arcade match where they had it was Miro and Kip Sabian versus the best friends. I think that was on the pay per view we watched, where they had like all the video games and stuff set up.
No. I mean, once we start talking about it, I might remember, but no.
Okay. Do you remember the big guy Miro? The big
Yeah, I remember him.
European guy. Yeah. They're setting him up to go against Darby Allin for the TNT title. I think they're going to be taking that belt off of Darby.
Was that the super tall, like big black dude that you're talking about?
No.
Or
We're talking
Spanish
in
dude or whatever?
we're talking in AEW. He's the really broad, looks like he was a weightlifter or something guy who's from he's Eastern European.
I got nothing. Sorry.
He used to be Rusev in WWE. You know who that is. But yeah, they're building him up to be a real monster, and I got a feeling they are going to be taking the TNT title off of Darby Allin and putting it on him coming up. Either this week coming, yeah, I think it's this week coming up. And the stipulation in the contract is if Darby Allin doesn't show up, he forfeits the title. So whether they're going to have Miro actually and him actually wrestle or not, or if they're going to have Darby forfeit because of something else that happened on the show to protect him to where he loses the title but doesn't actually lose the match. That's going to be interesting to see how they do that because they had Scorpio Sky and what the hell's his name? Ethan Page. You know, talking, being interviewed. They start talking smack about Sting and all that, and Darby Allin attacks them like the idiot that he is, and they end up throwing him down a set of concrete steps. And then he's at the end, he's holding his arm like he would have broke his arm or something. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes, and with that Mero match and that stipulation, how they're going to play that if Darby's going to wrestle but be hurt, and that injury is going to cause him to lose. And in that way, they're going to protect him because he was injured and should have never been in the match in the first place. So he's not going to look as weak as if he were just lose the match. Or if they're going to have it to where the doctors say he can't compete, and so he can't do the wrestling match, and he's going to lose the title that way. It's going to be interesting to see how they go with that. And, I know you guys know who Orange Cassidy is. The guy that wrestles with his hands in his pockets and stuff.
Yeah.
They had Kenny Omega was cutting a promo about whatever. I don't even remember what the hell he was talking about. But then Oh, they were talking about they were announcing the match. It's going to be between Pac and Orange Cassidy, and Kenny Omega starts acting like he doesn't know who Orange Cassidy is and whatnot. Orange Cassidy comes out. At the same time, he's standing there talking. He's got Michael Nakazawa, who's the Japanese guy that, is good friends with Kenny Omega. And Cat, we are about to lose one of our cats. she is knocking stuff down, and my wife is getting irritated. But anyway, Kenny Omega's there. Michael Nakazawa's there with them. Kenny Omega's wearing the AEW title, and Nakazawa's wearing the other 3 belts that Omega has, which is interesting. But then he's, like I said, he's talking crap about Orange Cassidy, like he doesn't know who he is, and all this other stuff. Cassidy comes out, and Omega starts, doing the whole heel thing where you're not on my level and all this other stuff. And then he takes Orange Cassidy's sunglasses off of him and puts them on Michael Nakazawa. It was an interesting promo, and this was right before the Blood and Guts match. As Kenny Omega's doing this promo, they're getting the cage ready around the 2 rings. If you guys remember the old War Games matches, it was 2 rings set up with like the Hell in a Cell style cage, right? But it covered both rings and it had a lid on it, and all that, or a lid being a roof. And for those of you who don't know wrestling parlance, we lost Buck. But yeah, it was an interesting promo. And then right after that's when they had the Miro promo, and then after that was the main event. But the show started off with Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa versus Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley, which was an interesting match. Moxley and Kingston won because Kenny Omega said the hell with it, and walks off, typical heel thing. And so they start beating the crap out of Nakazawa, and they pin him. And then after they pin him, you get the Young Bucks come walking out on the stage, and them and Kingston and Moxley are jawing back and forth, and then the Good Brothers attack Kingston and Moxley from behind, and they start beating the crap out of them. And then Kenny Omega comes back out, and classic Bullet Club or Four Horsemen type of situation. You know what I'm talking about, where the heels just get the upper hand on the 2 baby faces, and yeah, it was typical. It was your typical scenario there, but it was done well. And then good.
I got one for you. Okay, we got the open top cage match.
No, the closed.
Stop. We're going somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm pretty sure we've already established that the chain link fence, like dog kennel style fence cage, is our favorite.
Yeah.
Compared to the prison bars, the WWE.
Yeah, the rebar style cage. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What's your favorite cage match victory? And do you think that the masses agree with you? Going over the top of the cage and getting to the ground to win, or going out the front door of the cage?
Hardly anybody ever makes it out the front door.
Right.
It's very rare to see somebody get out the front door. Usually it's going to be somebody climbing the cage. But if we want to go with my favorite victory in a steel cage match, it was the steel cage match I quit match between Tully Blanchard and Magnum TA. But Magnum made Tully give up.
Yeah, but I'm talking about aside from obviously inside the ring pinfall type of stuff. I'm talking about just the victory of either going over the top or out the door.
Yeah. I don't know if I really have a preference between the two. I mean, they both can have their exciting moment from that for different reasons. Like you get to 2 guys getting to the top of the cage and start beating the crap out of each other while sitting on top of the cage to see who's going to be able to climb out the rest of the way. But you also have where it's the same thing at the door. Somebody's trying to escape through the door and they get caught and they start kicking the crap out of somebody, and one of them ends up accidentally falling out of the cage and winning. So there's ways you can make either one good. So I don't know if I have an actual preference for either version of it.
I think I probably would agree. And yeah, I don't think that winning going to the door that's pretty rare in my memory. I can think of maybe one time that I can remember it happening, and then and I couldn't tell you the specifics of it either. I'm picturing Ric Flair in my head, but that might just because he's iconic wrestling. Uh, I think that the masses probably prefer going over the top. That's probably why you see it more often than never in the whole going out the front door.
Yeah, going out the front door is harder if you think about it. It's a much smaller thing that needs to be protected, whereas going over the top, you got the whole cage you can climb over.
Well, and there's been situations where they lock the cage and they don't give you that option either.
Well, usually they'll unlock. You go over to the door and they unlock it. Usually, what happens in that situation. But
Right,
I've
right.
also seen cage matches, and this happened with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, where the two of them accidentally went through the side of the cage, and they declared the end of the match there with the first person that actually had their feet touch the floor won. When they both hit the ground at the same time, but Lesnar's feet hit first, so Lesnar was declared the winner of the match. They weren't supposed to go through the doors, just the cage, just the brackets that hold it failed when they hit the steel because they hit it with such force that they just went through it.
Yeah, they're two giant guys. Do you see
Yeah,
Buck wanting to know if they still have I Quit matches?
yeah, they still do. There was one not that long ago, and for the life of me right now, I cannot remember who was in it. So, but yeah, they still do the I Quit matches.
Oh, I'm just thinking of the I Quit matches. You brought up the Tully Blanchard Magnum TA match, and that wasn't clownish. They weren't taking baseball bats with barbed wire and hitting each other in the face with it 100 times.
No,
You know,
no,
they
they
were
were.
they were. It seemed almost like you were watching Roadhouse or something like that. Like you knew, okay, they're not really hitting each other with that barbed wire wrapped around his fist, but or he didn't really bang his head onto the concrete floor or whatever. But it just seemed more realistic that way. Going back to the barbed wire explosion match, and then all the tacks being on the ground. Those are like that's too gimmicky, and it just doesn't seem as genuine as the Tully Blanchard match.
Yeah, well, that one was in a cage too, if you remember. That was the I Quit match. Everybody refers to that as the I Quit match because it's probably the best one there's ever been. There was all of one weapon introduced in that entire match, and that was a wooden folding chair that Baby Doll threw into the ring, and it got broken up so bad when Magnum finally forces Tully to tap out. They're both bloody as hell from hitting each other with scraps of what was left of that chair. And when Tully surrenders, Magnum is gouging his forehead with a piece of that chair. It was brutal. It was all hell looking at that point.
Yeah, but it worked so well,
Yeah,
you know.
they looked the the two of them were good friends outside the ring. We all find that out later. But in that match, you would think these two guys literally hated each other
Well, that's
because
why that's why I referred it to a movie. Like when you're watching a movie, Michael Myers doesn't really want to kill Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, he may personally, 'cause she might be one of those aggravating women, but Jason's not really avenging his mother's death thousands of times a year or whatever. But the authentication, the authentic feeling of making it look like a movie as opposed to a acrobatic event. If, I don't know, maybe that's not the right way to describe what wrestling is. Sports entertainment. I guess I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Buck says that they need to bring back the basically the bull rope match. He calls it the cowbell rope match, but it was the technical name of that was the Texas bull rope match, if I remember right.
I thought
But
that was the bunkhouse match.
the bunkhouse match was similar but different. But it looks like they are setting up for one of those type of matches in the future in AEW because they've been having Dustin Rhodes come out lately when he's coming out to make the save when somebody's getting the crap kicked out of him by QT Marshall's stable with one of the bull ropes that you would use in that match, complete with the cowbell attached to it. So it looks like they are setting up for that. And they had before um damn, I can't think of his name now. The one that just died back in December. Brody Lee. Before Brody Lee died, when he won or when he lost the TNT title back to Cody Rhodes, that was in a dog collar match, and you hadn't seen one of those in forever. So it
Yeah,
looks like
that's
that.
if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So they need to get now that they've gone and broke it so much. They explode like the ring exploding and fireworks going off and sparklers going off and all that kind of stuff is cool for like somebody's entry music or somebody's celebration that they just won the title or something. But having that be a part of the gig, Hollywood does it with computers. That's why everybody loves the Transformers movies because there's all kinds of computer explosions. So it doesn't matter that the movie's crappy. So I don't know. I think they just should go back to, like I always say, two dudes in there fighting.
Well, that you got to remember too. That match was supposed to have been an homage to the ones from the '80s where they actually were doing that stuff in Japan. Because AEW does have roots in Japanese wrestling because all these guys wrestled in New Japan at one point. All four of the executive vice presidents were wrestlers in New Japan. The Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Cody. They all wrestled in Japan, so they all appreciate the Japanese style, and that's what that was supposed to do. It's just the ending got botched when the ring was supposed to explode. The pyrotechnics failed, and that's what caused that issue.
Yeah, that's dumb. That's dumb. That's cool. I mean, I get it. I get it. That's a cool, event and really neat to see this stuff happen. But that's too much. That's not necessary. Just stick to two guys busting each other in the head with a villain and a good guy, and then the good guy turns bad, and the bad guy turns good, and the girlfriend I mean, the whole storyline that always worked forever when wrestling was at its peak. If you do that, the rate, I guarantee people will love it. A whole bunch of old school people, just like we talked about before with the collectible things, like the guy from Pawn Star says. All of our toys and all of our cool stuff when we were kids, we got money now and we want to spend it on it. And a bunch of dudes in their late 30s, early 40s, late 50s, or whatever, that age range, will happily turn some good wrestling back on if it's just two dudes kicking each other's butt.
Yeah. Well, the blood and guts match that was right up there with the old war games matches. That's essentially what it was. It was the war games, and they pulled off some of the moves that they were doing in the ring, and some of the brutality was like those old matches. But you had somebody like Sammy Guevara, who is a high flying kind of wrestler. At one point, he hits a flipping move from one rope to the other rope on the rings, because the rings had the gap between them and everything. He springs from one rope to the other rope and then hits the move on the guy. It was like insane to watch. And then there's another spot where he tries doing that again, but he's so wore out from the match that he slips and falls instead of completing the move. The psychology in the match was really good.
Well, that one match, I don't know if it was the Battle Royal or what, where the guy was walking along the top rope and he
Yeah.
slipped, and then he got back up and was supposed to like throw somebody off the top rope, but slipped again, and then still got a move off when they both got back to the floor.
Mm-hmm.
It was noticeable as can be. You couldn't miss that they screwed up. But then when you're thinking this guy's been in the ring for 10 minutes, he's 6'5", 300 pounds. It's probably hot. He's been getting punched in the face by 9 other guys. That was pretty good that he was able to keep his composure.
Oh yeah. It was like the one match we watched at WrestleMania. You could tell they screwed the move got screwed up, but they just flowed right into the next move after that. And a lot of times when something like that happens, you'll see the guy try and go or the girl try and go and do the same move again, and that makes it worse because you can tell that they screwed up, so they want to go and retry it. It's better if they just flow into the next move because then it's like, oh, we screwed up. Let's just keep going. That's whereas when they try and redo the move again, it's like, oh, I screwed up. I better go try it again, and it's like they're panic. Almost like they're panicking. You know what I mean?
And then throw on top of the fact that you missed the double backflip scissor kick because you messed up, and the ring didn't explode. So if you just cut out the extra nonsense that you don't really need, then I don't know. I think they're just doing too much, man. I think people just want to watch people get beat up.
If you want to watch somebody get beat up, the blood and guts match, people were getting beat up in that match. That was, like I said, that was like watching one of the old War Games matches where they're just all getting bloodied and beating the crap out of each other in the ring. And the finish of the match was MJF and Jericho on top of the cage, and the two of them had beaten the crap out of each other on top. And finally, MJF got the upper hand, and he's threatening to throw Jericho off the ring, and the inner circle surrenders. And finally, Sammy Guevara says, "Fine, fine, we surrender." And then after his the pinnacle of the stable that he formed after the pay per view we watched, he goes and throws him off the ring, off the top of the cage anyway.
People are looking for sports, man. People love sport ball. And all the major sports, hockey, baseball, basketball, football, all those are all Black Lives Mattered up. And people turned it off because they're tired of it. UFC has got higher ratings than ever.
Oh, yeah.
And wrestling is just UFC, but nobody really gets hit.
I wouldn't say people don't actually get hit.
I'm talking about real intentional. I'm punching you in the face.
Yeah, it's a different type of punching and kicking in professional wrestling. People are still getting hit, but they're not getting hit with the same force as they would in UFC.
Well, yeah, because it's an act, is what I'm saying. UFC
is a stunt show.
The guy's trying to kick your teeth out of your face.
Right. Yeah, it's a stunt show. It's a stunt show compared to an actual contact sport.
Exactly. And what is the main draw to the sport? It's not the ball going in the hole. It's the 7-foot tall 18-year-old named LeBron James that jumped from half court and put it in the hole. That's why people watch. So people will go to wrestling to see, the Undertaker do a double backflip off the back ring and be like, holy crap, that massive dude just did a double backflip off the ring. People would love to just keep all the female main events out, and they will gain plenty of viewers.
Yeah.
The market's out there. People are dying to watch stuff, man.
Oh yeah, you had in the blood and guts match, you had Wardlow come into the match because it was like the War Games where everybody comes in like 2 minutes apart. Yeah. But the first two guys in there were in there for 5 minutes before anybody else comes in. Anyway, towards the end of the match, the last two guys before Jericho and MJF got into the ring were Wardlow and Jake Hager. They're the two big guys on each team. Wardlow's a former power lifter. Hager is an actual mixed martial arts fighter. He fought for Bellator. And he's supposed to have another match with them coming up soon. So he's been training for that as well as doing wrestling. The two of them get in there and they just start wailing on each other. It looked it looked like an actual fight between those two, mainly because Hager is an actual fighter, and it just the two of them just looked like they were trying to kill each other.
And that's what people want, man. Because and also
Yep.
look at the movies. Not only haven't been able to go to a movie theater for a year, and every movie in the past 10 years that's come out has sucked terribly because they got some stupid SJW storyline behind it now. So nobody's watching that crap. So once again, another thing that wrestlers can do that the UFC can't do is double backflips off the top ring.
Hmm.
Whether or not Conor McGregor can really do a double backflip scissor kick, he's never ever going to do that in a UFC fight because he'll probably get killed if he misses.
Right.
But Moxley can do that, and people will come and watch it. I just they're sitting on a gold mine, and hopefully they figure it out and do it.
Yeah, and I just want to say something about MJF and his heel work before the match even started. When the Pinnacle was coming out to the ring for the match, they didn't have. Remember how they had the wrestlers like as the crowd? Wednesday was the first time that AEW had just about a full capacity crowd inside Daily Place for the event because Florida's never had the lockdown. And there were people in there that weren't wearing masks and everything else. But they had, instead of the wrestlers being around the ring like they had been doing, there were fans around that ring. You had one of the fans as MJF's walking by give MJF a shove and then spit on him, and MJF knocked the guy down. He literally, it was not a setup. This was legitimately somebody pushed him, so he pushed them back, and then smiles and does the cocky heel thing and just keeps on walking. MJF is 25 years old. You think this guy had been wrestling for 20 years? The way his heel work is for somebody his age is ridiculously good. Most guys, when they're 25, they're just starting to break into wrestling. Like if you go the New Japan, for example, or WWE, you're in developmental when you're 25 still. MJF is heading towards the main event picture, and this guy is only 25 years old. It's insane how good he is for his age.
I don't know who you're really talking about, but I'm going to think that it's more marketability than it is talent.
Oh no, he's talent. It's talent. It is his talent.
Yeah,
He
I
is
know, but
very, very good.
every other aspect of the world, there's all kinds of talented people, much more talented people, that no one's ever heard of. But everybody's heard of Britney Spears because she's marketable.
Mhm.
I'm not taking away from his talent. I'm just
Oh yeah,
saying, that there might be a guy at the gym that guy trained with is twice as good and nobody's ever heard of him because he looks like a lame. He doesn't have that it factor.
yeah. He see in wrestling you get some of that, but a lot of it's also based on your talent ability and your ability. He's got good in ring ability. He doesn't screw up a lot. He keeps it simple what he does do, and he is great on the microphone.
That means he's marketable. That's my point.
Yeah,
The
but the
Maniac League,
marketability in professional wrestling isn't just about your looks, especially now in the age where you don't have the managers.
I've always said the microphone is probably more important than the ring.
Oh yeah,
Well, I haven't always said that. That's the first time I said that, but I've insinuated that the microphone is very important plenty of times.
oh yeah. That's why you saw back in the '80s guys that weren't good on the mic. They had the managers to do the talking for them. Their job was just to look good in the ring. MJF is good on the microphone and he looks good in the ring. For
Dusty
some,
Rose, Dusty Rose, and Ric Flair.
yeah.
I
Oh,
mean, there is no there. In my opinion, there is no better two on the mic. Never, never.
Mm, I wouldn't say never. I mean, Jericho's pretty damn good on the ring too, on the mic too.
Maybe I'm, and I do tend to do this sometimes and end up getting corrected a lot. I tend to lean to nostalgia first, like the groundbreakers. So maybe you are right, but to me, when I think back about really entertaining on the mic, Dusty Rose and Ric Flair are the number two, one and two that I always think of.
Oh yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not dissing. I'm not trying to diss Flair and Rhodes in any way, shape, or form. They were great on the microphone. Both of them were. But there were other guys at that time period that were just as good. Piper, Roddy Piper was excellent on the microphone. Um,
Yeah, I like Piper a lot.
Savage with just his insanity. You never knew where Savage was going with one of his promos.
Okay. Let's hold on there before try to remember the rest of your list, and we can either go to the list and then come back to this, or we can because this might take a minute. I don't know. Is Savage's mic overblown, or
No,
was it just the "oh yeah" that just hit as a gimmick and people like the stupid Budweiser frog or the what was the what was the stupid thing other people used to what's that?
yeah, no, I wouldn't say that he was in that kind of category. It's not like I've seen people try and say that Savage was like the Ultimate Warrior but better because Savage had not only was good on the microphone, he was also able to go in the ring. Whereas Ultimate Warrior was, to be perfectly honest, he was the face paint and the super excitement. But if he had to go any long distance in a match, he didn't look as good.
And he was horrible on the microphone. And
Yeah,
that's why they kept it. That's why they didn't put him on the microphone very often.
right.
So I don't know. To me, I think Savage's mic work was good, but I also think that he just caught the gimmick with the whole snap into a Slim Jim thing.
Well, that wasn't until later in his career. The
And
snapping the
I
Slim
mean
Jim
that
stuff was
persona,
during
that
the
"oh yeah,
yeah.
brothers," that persona just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and he got a whole lot more credit for that.
Yeah. Well, Jake Roberts is another one too, by the way, who's very good on the microphone. Jake Roberts wasn't just good on the microphone; he was creepy as hell on the microphone, especially when he was a heel.
Yeah, I like Jake Roberts. He was a good one.
But if you watch some of Savage's stuff when he first got into the WWE and when he was in the AWA, he was doing promos very similar to what Jake Roberts did. It was Vince McMahon's the one that got him doing the "oh yeah" kind of stuff and all that stuff. But yeah, Savage was really good on the microphone. His mic ability is underrated a lot of time.
I like Arn Anderson on Ole. You didn't hear Ole a whole lot, so I can't really judge
No.
Ole. But Arn Anderson made like when I'm thinking about it now, it reminded me of him talking about his business because he always
Yep.
had the glasses on, and sometimes he'd be in a suit and
Yep.
tie talking about kicking the crap out of you, and it'd just be like a regular CEO having a meeting talking about beating the competition or something like that. Like
Yeah.
it made me
That
think that his butt kicking was his business.
yeah, that was his role in the Four Horsemen. If you look, everybody else in the Four Horsemen was like high energy, like yelling and all this other stuff, including Flair. If you watch Anderson, Arn, I'm talking about, he was the calm, I'm just going to beat the shit out of you, and I don't care what you say kind of guy. He was the guy who was supposed to bring the level back to an even keel, and that was his role in the Four Horsemen. And when you hear him talking about it now, like if you watch the Table for Five episode from a couple years ago when he was still working for WWE, or if you watch his podcast now where they talk about all that old stuff, that was his role. His role was to be the level-headed, I'm just going to go out there and kick your ass guy, opposite Ric Flair and Tully Blanchard or Barry Windham or whoever was in the Four Horsemen at the time with the crazy antics guys. You know what I mean? Arn was the voice of reason in the Four Horsemen.
Yeah, he did it well. He did it very well.
Yes, he did. And he was very good in the ring, too. He wasn't the guy that was going to go out there and do all the fancy kinds of high speed kind of moves. He was the guy that was just going to go out there, kick your ass, hit you with a spine buster, 1, 2, 3, and your match was over.
Yeah, I liked it. His character was definitely good. They didn't make him too tough in the ring, and when he did get bested, he generally didn't flop around like a dead fish. Sometimes he did, but for the most part, he usually wasn't the guy that would flop around like he just caught the atomic elbow, and it was the worst thing that he's ever felt in his life. Flopping all over
Mm-hmm.
the floor.
Well, you know why Arn Anderson never held the world title? He didn't want to.
Well, he was what, the television champion for a while, right?
Yeah, off and on, yeah. If not that, tag team title. He held the tag team titles with 3 different tag team partners, if I remember correctly. Tully Blanchard, Larry Zbyszko, and Bobby Eaton. A lot of people remember Bobby Eaton for the Midnight Express and completely forget that him and Arn Anderson were one of the dominant tag teams in the late 80s going into the 90s.
I I thought that's another thing. At least for my viewing experience, that I thought that I'm going to say the blanket NWA, all those other not WWF deals.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they did pretty well because they give you plenty of sprinkling of Midnight Express and Rock and Roll Express, but they'd still give you some Barbarian and the Warlord. They'd still
And
give
the
you
Road Warriors. I mean,
the Road War, some real
yeah.
gruff kind of stuff, and then you'd still get the high flying, you know. I just think of the Ricky Morton with the long blonde hair and bouncing all over the place kind of deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ricky getting his ass kicked, and all of a sudden he makes it to the corner and tags in Robert Gibson with the hot tag, and Gibson just goes nuts and starts beating the crap out of the other guys.
I finally convinced my parents to let me take one of my white T-shirts and turn it into a Rock and Roll Express shirt. So I got to draw all over one of my shirts and make it a Rock and Roll Express shirt.
The 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 Rock and Roll Express, man, they will live on forever because depending on who's calling the match, the hot tag is the Ricky to Robert. I kid you not. If you listen to like Kevin Kelly calling matches in New Japan and it's a tag team match and the baby faces are in trouble, he doesn't say the hot tag. He goes the Ricky to Robert, and that comes directly from the Rock and Roll Express because that was like the big point in the match. You would always see that at some point, Ricky getting his ass kicked, and he makes it to the corner and makes that tag to Robert, and that's where things would always turn around in the match for them. And remember, neither one of those guys were big guys either.
No, but Ricky was pretty small. Robert, I would say, was average. He looked
Yeah,
big because Ricky was so small.
yeah. Ricky Morton was not a big guy. And
Remember
those,
when he broke his nose and he was wearing that like nose guard thing on his face?
oh yeah, yeah. That's something that happens in wrestling. You'll see that in actual real sports too. Like there was a basketball player a few years ago broke his nose and he was wearing one of those while playing basketball.
Oh yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and you'll see it in hockey. Hockey players will wear them. But so that's an actual thing that they took from actual sports and incorporated that into professional wrestling to protect people's noses when they get a broken nose. Cody, when he was in the WWF or WWE still, he had broken his nose and he was wearing one of those during matches, and they incorporated it to where his came up over his forehead, not just his nose. So he was actually using it. He was a heel at the time, so he was using it as a weapon.
We can use this as a good transition. I'll bring up this one more topic, and then we can go into what you were talking about in the pre-chat if you want. Remember the match that Barry Windham was outside the ring and he got lariat whipped into the outside pole and he actually separated his shoulder during the match?
Oh yeah,
What? Who was he? Right? What do you remember? All I can remember is him hitting the ring and being like, "Oh no, that's not good."
yeah, yeah. It's surprising how much that happens. You'll remember a spot like that, but you can't remember anything else about the match because that's what sticks out in your memory. Because especially if it's something that was like when you were a kid or something, the rest of the match, because you've seen so many wrestling matches, you it all bleeds together. It's that one spot that you remember. It's like
Yeah,
a couple years ago, you had Finn Balor in his first defense of the Universal Championship. He was defending against Seth Rollins. I can't remember anything else from the match or what happened. I don't remember how the match ended. I remember Finn Balor won the match, and the next night he had to surrender the title because he had separated his shoulder because Seth Rollins whipped him into the guardrail, and he separated his shoulder when he hit the guardrail. You can see his shoulder pop out. I remember that part. I don't remember anything else from the match except that part, and that was just a couple of years ago.
yeah, man, that's crazy.
Or what about the Scott Steiner and Sid Vicious match where Sid breaks his leg? That's the part everybody remembers. Nobody else remembers anything else from that match. Everybody just remembers Sid coming off the top rope, landing, and his leg just folding in half at the calf. That is, his shin just folded in half. That's the part everybody remembers. There's nobody remembers anything else in that match except for that part.
Yeah, well, it's hard to blame him either. Too.
Yeah. It's just those are the things that stick out in your memory because it's like it's gruesome and it just sticks there. You know what I mean? I don't know how else to explain it. It's just what you remember because that's the spot.
So you were talking about people complaining about a dude hurting himself, right?
Yeah, they complained back when Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara were wrestling, and Matt took a bad bump and ended up with a concussion because they were supposed to dive off of a scissor lift onto a set of gimmick tables, but they misjudged it and they went over the tables and Matt's head hit the concrete floor, and people were complaining about that. And then this past Wednesday, when they take steps to make sure that doesn't happen again, when MJF threw Jericho off of the cage for the blood and guts match, you could see the safety mat because of the camera angles and stuff, and people threw a fit because you could see that they were protecting the guy so that you didn't have him get hurt, like what happened in the Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara match. It's it's people, yeah. It and this is mostly on Twitter, so we all know how Twitter is. Twitter's a cesspool, but yeah, people are throwing a fit because somebody gets hurt, and then they throw a fit because they took measures so somebody doesn't get hurt. Take a side, people. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, they can.
Well, they think they can.
They seem to be getting both ways every time they want it. Yeah, that's dumb. I don't get it, man. This the padding that the padding that's on the floor around a wrestling ring is crap.
Oh yeah, it's the same shit we used in gym class.
Yeah, no kidding. That's why I never like to do the backflip, the standing backflip in gym class, because I know that I'm basically just going to land here on the basketball gym floor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you could. What they did was they had the textured steel um, sheets that you would use for like making stairs or ladder steps. So the non-slip, how it's got the pattern cut into it. They had those kinds of sheets laid down, and underneath that they had foam padding and cardboard boxes to break his fall. And it didn't. This the way when he landed, the way he landed, you could see some of the cardboard and padding sticking up through the steel sheets, and there was nothing anybody could do to make that not look that way. And it still, when he hit, had to hurt. You know what I mean? You still got a guy being thrown 15 feet through down through steel flooring. I mean, it's not going to feel good. And you know, it was solid flooring because people were walking across it before then, and it wasn't collapsing. They had just done enough to where when his weight hit that, it was going to break it away from that height. You know what I mean? It it couldn't have felt good. The spot looked good when it happened. It's just after the fact you could see that what was underneath the steel, and people were throwing a fit because they rigged it to where somebody wouldn't get super injured. It's like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so you can't feed into those maniacs.
No.
You either stand up to them right away and say, "Stop watching our event. We don't want you here," or just ignore them altogether.
Yeah. MKJ, by the way, said he still gets chills from that one. I'm assuming he was that was in reference to the Sid Vicious, where his leg just like folded in half. That was absolutely gruesome when that happened.
Yeah. Do you remember Anderson Silva and Chris Weidman a couple years ago when Anderson Silva's leg snapped in half like that? Did you?
Nah.
Well, all right. Chris Weidman and Anderson Silva are kicking each other, and Anderson Silva's lower, below the knee, just
Mm-hmm.
snapped in half, and his foot was all flopping all over the place.
Yeah, that's what happened with Sid, but it was in his side. It was like lower down. It was in his wrestling boot, and his boot just folds up sideways up against his leg.
2 weeks ago, Chris Weidman, the guy that broke Anderson Silva's leg, had his leg broken in pretty much the same way. Nasty. Snapped right through, just flopping back and forth. Disgusting.
Yeah, MKGO mentions that just as you're talking about it. Yeah, so you know that just happened to Chris 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But, yeah, by the time you're telling the stories when he asked that question,
Yeah.
perfect timing. Yeah, that's crazy how that happens.
Do you remember that college basketball kid that was hopping out onto the ring? You know how like the kids get, you know, hopped up and then they start like kind of trot out onto the court.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he did that, and I guess he stepped wrong and crunch right to his leg.
Yeah. Well, you remember a few years ago, the one NFL player went to do that diving thing into the end zone when he was running for a touchdown. He lands and breaks his ankle.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I mean, Bo Jackson,
Oh yeah.
all the fight science guys, like you see on TV and the internet that
Mm-hmm.
analyze all that stuff. They said that Bo Jackson hurt himself because he was running too fast.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
fast. That's how badass Bo Jackson was.
Oh
He
yeah.
was running too fast.
Yeah. Well, if you remember Super Techno Bowl, there was a thing where people would say, "No, you can't use the Raiders because Bo Jackson's too good in
Even
the
when you
game."
blitz, even when you get the blitz, if you got Bo Jackson, you can usually just score a touchdown.
Yeah. You just hand the ball off the bow and
Gone,
boom, down the
gone. Yeah, Joe
gone.
Theismann. The Joe Theismann thing was pretty crazy. That's like the
Yeah.
original snapped in half leg event.
Mm-hmm. There was one I was just thinking of, and now I can't remember who it was, but something like that happened to him too. God damn it, who was it? Oh, it was Neville. Pac, when he was in WWE, him and Chris Jericho are having a match, and Neville lands wrong. He tells Jericho, "I think I just broke my ankle," and Jericho tells the referee he broke his ankle, and so Jericho and Neville rush the match. Jericho goes to cover Neville, and the referee only counts to two and says Neville kicks out. Jericho gets up. I told you could hear this all over the open mic because you know how WWE mics the entire ring. Jericho's like, "You dumb asshole! I told you he broke his ankle." And referee, it was Little Nate. It was Charles Robinson. Pushes Jericho and says, "I didn't hear you, motherfucker." And this is like live on TV happening. It was on Raw, if I remember right. Dude. And so after that, I mean, the two of them
You
get
think
back on the same page, and Jericho does something and pins him to end the match. And it was crazy.
you'd think that they'd have safe words or safe touches of some sort. Like if I'm wrestling, Hulk Hogan, and I break my ankle, I should be able to, you know, slap myself in the back of the head to say, or bananas or something like that to say, all right, now you need to come at me and pin me because I'm hurt and we got to get this match over with.
Yeah,
And
oh,
then
they do.
we would know.
Yeah, they do. It's just the match was so good and the crowd was so loud. Charles Robinson didn't hear it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You got to have a visual as well
Yeah,
because of the crowd noise. There's got to
yeah,
be an audio, audible, and a visual
yeah.
safe.
Normally they do, but it's just, the match was just going, and sometimes you miss things. And that's what happened here. Charles Robinson just missed the fact that Jericho was trying to let him know that he was hurt. And, Jericho just does the heel thing, acting like, if you go ahead, if they didn't have the ring mic the way it was, you would just think Jericho was complaining because the count was
Too slow.
too slow. Yeah, exactly. That should have been a 3 count. But then Charles Robinson, loud as day, says, "I didn't hear you, motherfucker." You didn't need the ring to be Mike to hear him yell out at Jericho.
Maybe. All right. If I'm okay, let's. Here you go. If you're still listening, Squibby, I'm gonna do some uh, DA for you. Uh, I forgot what I was gonna say. Now I was trying to not say devil's advocate, and I forgot what I was gonna. Like, I was trying to mess with Squibby, and I forgot what I was gonna say.
See what happens? It's all Squib's fault, and therefore, by extension, it's Night Strike's fault.
Yeah, absolutely. Squibby's clear.
Yeah, Squib's still trying to find hot toddy recipes. It's not hard, Squib. It's hot tea, lemon juice, or honey, your choice, or both, and whiskey. That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah, but he's fancy. He's got to get all kinds of stuff mixed into there.
It's 3 or 4 ingredients, and just make a hot cup of tea. You pour in a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of honey, enough honey to sweeten it, like you would instead of sugar, and then you put like a shot of whiskey in it, and that's it. That's all it is. Yeah, but if you're having like bronchial issues or something like that, it's great for that, especially if you're trying to go to sleep and you're having trouble sleeping because it relaxes you and relaxes your lungs and makes it where it's easier to breathe and stuff. Like I was saying earlier on, shit, was it Rick's show or was it Travis's show this morning? I forget. But our daughter, she had bad asthma problems when she was younger, and like when she was 2, the doctor told us before she goes to bed, if she's having the bronchial infection, make her a hot toddy and have her drink that before she goes to bed. So our daughter's been drinking whiskey since she was 2 years old.
Right.
And he actually wrote up a note in case so that our asses were covered because he put it as a prescribed medication.
Squibby's back. He was editing a video.
What did you miss? We were giving you the recipe for a hot toddy. See, we never put cloves in it. It was just lemon, honey, whiskey, and tea. That was it.
Cloves are disgusting in any shape or form. Man,
He says he's not putting whiskey in tea. Well, then you don't have a true hot toddy. A hot toddy is tea, lemon juice, optional, honey, and whiskey. That's all it is.
it's a brewed
Yeah.
tea, right? So like the whiskey would go along with the warmth. I, I, I drink tea. I never drank any soda, and I would be super disgusted if like a drop of alcohol got in one of my tea. But I guess if it's a brewed tea, then maybe that makes
Well,
sense.
all teas are brewed.
I know that, but not when I go in my refrigerator and grab a Snapple or a Pure Leaf, it better
Yeah,
not
no,
be
no,
hot.
that's a totally different thing. You're not mixing it with iced tea. You're mixing it with hot tea.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where he's getting his recipe for a hot toddy.
I told you he's fancy. He had to look it up on some gourmet website.
Yeah, he's got lemon juice, hot water, brown sugar, and cloves. See, I've never heard of that in a hot toddy in my life.
I'm anti-clove, so I'm cool with all the rest of it. I just no cloves.
He says he went to the store and bought whole cloves and cinnamon sticks just to make this. All right.
It's gonna be a cool video. I'm gonna be interested in seeing how it turns out, but I'm anti-clove.
Yeah, like I said, this is not what I know of as a hot toddy.
Mm-mm. No, not really squib. I got hot wings and ribs,
Yeah.
uh, steak,
Whopper with no ketchup
no
or
mayonnaise.
no mayonnaise, no tomato. Was there anything else that you didn't get on it?
Anything. Mustard, ketchup, pickle only.
Yeah.
And some places, like in Pennsylvania, I ordered my sandwich plain. And I explained to everybody why I ordered it plain because they were going to mess it up anyway. And sure enough,
Yeah, I've heard the story.
I was like
Yeah.
Nostradamus that day. As soon as they messed it up, I was watching. They're going to try to give it to somebody else. Try to give it to somebody else. And I was like, now their next move is they're going to go wipe the bun off and bring it back.
Uh
Bam!
huh.
Me again.
Oh yeah. Oh man, my wife when she was pregnant with our oldest daughter, God, she was so damn picky about how her. We went to Wendy's with my brother, and I went. She complained about her burger. I took it back once. Came back. She complained about something else. I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this again. My brother went and got her burger changed for 4 more times before she was happy with it. I was like, more power to you, bro. I'm not doing it. I'm not
Yeah, no.
playing this game.
Look, I learned a long time ago. I'm really sensitive about my environment, my specific environment, not your environment when you're next. My specific environment, and food is a massive part of my specific environment. And I learned a long time ago to pay a lot of attention to my food. I always, if there's 50 people in my party, I'm the only one's order that gets screwed up. And it's been like that for so long. I expect it. That's why I'm very detailed when I order food, and that's why most of the time if I know I can't be detailed, then I'll just say plain. Like if you go to a Subway with me, I'm gonna say stuff like I want 4 pickles. If you put 5 pickles on there, we got a problem. I wanted 4 pickles. So I generally avoid that kind of stuff. I'm pretty picky, and I generally won't eat out with people because of stuff like that. My order, it's tragic.
How do you feel about Chinese food?
We got a really good Chinese place that's been around this neighborhood for years and years and years. And I always order the Szechuan shrimp now. And it's always rocking. We had it like 2 or 3 days ago.
So if you come up on Thursday and we went to the Chinese restaurant, you'd be fine with that.
If they got Szechuan shrimp and spring rolls, sure.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. I might be a little bit pretentious and eat with chopsticks for a little while too.
They also got General Tso's chicken. I mean, not general, well, they got and the shrimp. They got the General Tso's shrimp too, which is similar to the Szechuan shrimp. It just doesn't have all the vegetables in it, but it's the same kind of sauce. They're
And
both Szechuan dishes.
planning, like, this is another thing. Hanging out with me, you don't have to worry about planning to eat because I'll be just as fine without.
Yeah,
So
but I won't.
I know generally it's good manners and it's neighborly and polite to when you got a guest around to take them out to dinner or lunch or different make them a sandwich or bring them a drink. None of that stuff you have to worry about with me.
Yeah, I know. I had to force you to take food at Burger King. You would not let me pay for the gas on the way back from DC either when we stopped in Winchester to get gas.
Yeah, that's fine, man.
But if you're going to drive all the way up here for Baltimore, you're going to eat.
Yeah, but Squibby was there. He said they definitely tried to give it to somebody else. The burger that I ordered.
Oh man, last time we ordered from Denny's, we almost ended up with the wrong order. They put the wrong tags in the wrong bags. So they had two people's orders were screwed up, ours and somebody else's.
Uh, I don't mind going to Wendy's drive-through. I don't like going into any fast food place. Like I prefer the drive-through. But Wendy's is acceptable. I don't eat McDonald's unless everybody else with me is gonna eat McDonald's. Then I'll get like chicken nuggets, but I won't ever eat their what they call meat. Burger King is fairly acceptable. I mean, I got some issues with them, but whenever I go anywhere, I tell everybody, look, I'm definitely allergic to mayonnaise, and if you put mayonnaise on my food, it's going to be a huge, huge problem. Because if I don't go that drastic, I don't care how much I say no mayonnaise, please. 3 out of 5 times they put mayonnaise on my stuff.
Now, when we went to Burger King, they didn't. But
Okay.
then I think that was because you were flirting with the girl and she gave us a shit ton of napkins. And you probably still have napkins in your glove compartment.
Yeah, they're gone now. That was a while ago. Okay, I went into a Subway once.
Hey, that was a lot of napkins, man. And it's entirely possible that you could have had some left.
I can't remember if it was my friend in front of me or a stranger in front of me. I don't remember. But they made my sandwich and it was fairly good. You know, it looked pretty neat and organized, good enough to eat. When they went to go cut it in half, they grabbed the knife that was covered in like all kinds of other sauces, mainly mayonnaise, and they cut right through my sandwich. And as they were cutting through it, I was like, "What are you doing? Stop that!" And they were like, what?" I said, "You just got mayonnaise all over my sandwich. I'm not eating that. Forget that. No, no." I can't remember if I just left the store or and the dude wiped off the knife and then tried to wipe off the sandwich, and I was like, "Dude, that's not happening. It's too late. You just contaminated my food by putting mayonnaise on."
You realize that rally was not that long ago. It was only a year and a half ago. It's just COVID makes it seem like it was so long ago.
Yeah, but I mean, it was still kind of a while ago. I mean, that's a long time. I didn't get that many. I didn't get 900,000 napkins.
Dude, she put a whole goddamn dispenser in that bag. What are you?
I got about 50 napkins. And MK Joe says, "Am I going to get the permit?" Yeah, most likely. I'll look into it.
Yeah, that's going to be July 9th, I think, that those are going to be available for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I'll look into it if I'm available to get it. I'll sure take it.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have to get the class, which is about $50 on average, and then the permit itself is going to be 25. If you lived in West Virginia, it'll be that would be refundable on your state income taxes as a refundable credit. I don't know how they're going to handle that aspect, or if they're even going to with the out of state, if they're going to have some plan to refund that like they do for in-state people. And I don't know if they're going to do the thing with for veterans, because if you're a veteran in West Virginia, you don't pay the fee and you don't have to take the class. So I don't know if they're going to continue that with the out-of-state permits too, or not. For anybody out there that's a veteran who might be thinking about it.
It may not be. This isn't my advice to anybody else. This is just the way I look at things. In my day-to-day life, I don't need to carry a gun. And if I carried a gun, it would probably be more of a nuisance than anything else, seeing the kind of work I do. And then when I'm not at work, the things that I'm doing, kind of sitting on my bed, chilling, watching YouTube videos, uh, or Odyssey videos, actually, screw YouTube. And I think, carry laws, and they're all stupid, but I don't need to carry a gun. Uh, so therefore, I don't mind not carrying a gun. As far as if I felt like I needed to carry a gun every day, there's no law that you're going to write or permit that you're going to give me or not give me that's going to keep me from carrying a gun every day. Yeah, so I mean, in my personal life, like if I woke up tomorrow and was like, oh my gosh, I better start carrying a gun, it doesn't matter what Larry Hogan and the Maryland State Police say, I'm carrying a gun.
Yeah. And MKJL also asked, do we still need the class if you have the Utah CCW? I don't know what Utah's requirements are, but if they have a class that you take that will meet West Virginia's um, class requirements, that should qualify you. Your best bet is once it goes into effect, call the local sheriff's office here in West Virginia that you're going to use for to apply for your permit, and they should be able to let you know what the deal is with that. The sheriffs here tend to be fairly the knowledgeable. What they do is they have a specific officer or two who their sole job is to handle that aspect of the sheriff's office's duties. So the guys that do that part of the job, nope, they can spit out what the requirements are verbatim from the way the law is written. So that'll be your best bet is to wait till that goes into effect. Call whichever sheriff's office you're going to go to apply for the permit. Talk to their one of the officers that they have there who specifically handles the carry permits, and they should be able to let you know if that would qualify be acceptable for the class requirement.
Squibby's got it, no stinking badges.
Oh heck, the only reason why I got my permit one is for carrying in Pennsylvania and Virginia, and not having to go through the background check every time I buy a firearm.
Those are like the argument, the permit, the carry permits. I can see the argument for open carry and how you'd have to have a better you have to have a better argument than because I can and because Matue to have a legitimate argument. I mean, even if you're right, you still have to be able to express how you're right. So I can see having a problem convincing John Q. Public that open carry for everyone is a good idea. And the concealed carry, their argument starts to fall apart a little bit because then all they would say is, well, now we don't know who has a gun. Well, yeah, idiot, you just said you were complaining that now we know everybody's got a gun. So now we don't know who's got a gun. Your argument's falling apart there. So I'm definitely behind the whole get rid of all the whole permit thing and just, I guess if you want to have it called constitutional carry nationwide, that would be the most premier thing and the most logical thing. I just don't know how you make the argument with John Q. Public that getting rid of background checks is a good idea. Because with the permit thing, you can always say, well, I passed a background check to buy my gun, so why can't I carry it with me? If I'm safe enough to buy it, why can't I be safe enough to carry it around?
Well, that's the whole. The reverse of that is exactly the argument where if you have your carry permit, you don't go through the background check every time you buy a gun because you have to pass the background check. And in some cases, a more stringent background check to get your carry permit than you do when you're buying the gun. So if you can pass that background check to get your permit, you can pass any background check to get the gun itself.
Well, yeah, but mostly everyone that buys a gun has to go through some type of background check to buy the gun first.
Right.
So that right there is your first obstacle is the original 4473 and whatever else you have to go through in your state in order to get one.
Yeah.
Uh,
If you have your permit, you still have to fill out the 4473. You just don't go through the NICS check.
right, but that's what I mean. That's what I mean. The carry permit can be defeated. The whole argument for having to have a permit to carry can be defeated by the fact that the 4473 is the thing. You know, if I pass the 4473 and to be able to leave the store with this gun as my property, then why do I need an additional to carry it? If I'm safe enough to buy it, why am I not safe enough to keep it with me?
Right. And then again, on the flip side of that coin is if I can pass the permit background check, why do I have to go through a background check every time I go to buy a handgun or a rifle or a shotgun?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That's just the one thing that I think if we're going to have the political discussion about guns and background checks is we have to have a solid, sensible argument for why the 4473 should go away. And then you have to have the solid, sensible argument of when I walk into your gun store, Rich, how do you know if you need to deny me or not? Because it's somebody somewhere is going to have to have an answer for how do you keep guns out of bad people's hands.
Well, you
And
can't.
obviously, the majority of the answer will be, well, the shop owner can still deny you a sale. Then that very next question has to be, what parameters are you using to deny me that sale?
Yeah. In the overall, you're not going to keep guns out of the hands of the bad guys. It doesn't. The bad guys aren't going into a gun shop to buy their guns. They're going to Joe Schmo
Right,
down
right.
on the
But
street corner and buying it out of the back of a Buick.
that's the argument that the gun community's been using since
Yeah, I
17.
know, but
And
I
it's not
know,
effective. It's not effective
I
because
know.
the problem is if you get rid of the background check, bad guys will go to the gun stores. The only reason a bad guy doesn't go to the gun store because it's much no matter what you think, it's a lot easier to buy a gun at a gun store than it is on the street. Being the fact that I know there's a Glock 19 at Main Street's gun store. I don't know if my guy around the corner's got the Glock 19 on one. He might have a Beretta 92. I'm not really into that. I don't really want that, but I'll take it if I have to get it.
Yeah,
You know,
and
the sophisticated street people have their choices between weapons. The vast majority of the weapons on the street in the thuggish gangbanger role is available gun.
yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
without a background check, I can take my $500 and walk in and buy a Glock 19 from the corner store and then go rob the bank with
Well, for a long until 1968, that was always possible.
it. I know. I'm not saying. I'm
Yeah,
just
I mean,
saying we have to figure out how to have that argument with the anti, or
yeah,
maybe not even the anti because it's pointless to argue with them. But the middle grounds people that here, well, yeah, of course it makes sense to pass a background check to buy a gun. Who's not for that? Who's
yeah.
not for that?
The the 1968 Gun Control Act, which made the 4473 and background checks mandatory, had higher crime rates and higher murder rates appear after it went into effect. It did nothing to stop it.
I know, but like I said, once
Yeah.
again, that's the same argument we've always used.
Uh,
It's just
yeah,
it's not
I
effective.
know. I know, but that's I'm just stating a fact. I'm not trying to use it as an argument right now. I'm just pointing out that this is what happened. It's just crazy.
See, like the squib, I get it. We understand that, but your John Q. Public here's well, it makes sense to have a background check because I don't want bad guys just walking into a gun store and getting a gun and throwing. Well, the Second Amendment and the background check, all that hasn't ever worked before. So I don't know. And I don't know the answer to it either. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. The short answer is we're not going to come up with an argument that the anti-gunners are going to like.
Well, that's why I say don't bother
Yeah.
talking to them. Don't talk
Yeah.
to them at all ever. But the casual guy you're at the water cooler with that's looking at the TV while you guys are having a break is like, oh yeah, they're gonna mandatory background checks. That makes sense. I get that.
They're already mandatory.
Bingo. You know,
Yeah.
that's the water cooler with the reasonable person is where we gotta have more than shall not be infringed. They'll get it if we can tell them and have that reasonable conversation with them in about a week. Maybe they'll get shall not be infringed means don't do it. You don't care about him. I get it, Squid, but he's voting. He's voting a lot. There's a lot of John Q. Publics that vote, just like the red flag law. I talked about when the red flag laws came out. They sold them as we're going to keep mentally ill people from having guns, and they even got Donald Trump to say take the guns first, and used it against him, and we all used it against him, and still to this day, yes, I hear people chirping about that. But when you go to the guy on the street who's a regular everyday Joe Blow who's got a job and isn't concerned about politics and isn't caught up in all this stuff, and you say, "Hey, there's a thing called a red flag law," and what that's meant to do is keep psychopaths that shoot up schools from being able to keep. We can identify them and go get their guns, and then they go, okay, cool, I'll vote for that. That makes sense.
Yeah. Have you seen the Crowder change my mind on red flag laws, where he had people come and sit down and talk to him about red flag laws, and they didn't even know what the hell a red flag law was, but they thought it was good because they heard the politicians say it was good. And when once he explained to them exactly what it means, they're like, "No, no, man, I don't want that."
Well, that's what I mean. Most
Yeah,
people are headliners. They're headliners. They red flag law keep the mass shooters from getting guns. Okay, that sounds cool. I'm down with that. Why wouldn't you be down with that? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you want? Because they're not going to go read the actual bill and see what it is or think about. Well, this is only going to harm regular normal people. This isn't going to do anything about criminals
yeah,
unless somebody like Steven Crowder sits down and says, "Hey, dude, here you go."
yeah. That's one of the things I like about Crowder when he does those change my mind. When he gets somebody who actually isn't a far lefty and they have an open mind when they come down and sit down and they start realizing, oh, wait a minute, that's not what I thought this was. The whole idea is you're supposed to go and sit down and change his mind, and most of the time, if you're somebody who has an open mind, that he ends up changing your mind.
See, Squib's over there having a heart attack about John Q. Public because he doesn't understand that everyone, including him, is John Q. Public.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about the crazy anti-moms demand action people. Yeah, don't ever even bother talking to them. Don't say anything to them at all. But every regular person out there who doesn't know no better because they don't care to get. How many times do we hear, I don't watch the news, that's just all bad news? and they have no idea what they're talking about because they don't watch the news. They don't keep up on that stuff because they got a job.
Or they only watch the news and they don't know what the actual facts are. And once they're presented with the actual facts,
And Squib, your exact that's my exact point, dude. There's not as many of us as we think there are. There are a bunch of freedom lovers. We're not outnumbered by the radical leftists. We normal people outnumber the radical leftists by gobs and gobs and gobs. We are the top 1% of the top 1% that critically think about this stuff and argue with our friends about it because we know I always say, never argue with somebody you're not friends with. Because I can argue with Squibby and understand when he calls me a dummy, he's saying that because he's trying to help me and enlighten me and get me to think and understand where he's coming from so we can have a better relationship because that's how friends do things. The jackass across the street that's just screaming at me because I'm going to get a bunch of people killed with my gun, I know better than to talk to that idiot. I'm not going to argue all these videos on the internet where they go to these rallies and argue with the radical leftist. That's just for views and clicks. There's no changing a blue-haired person's mind, so don't ever talk to that person. But the fact that the vast majority of the people are the people, those are the people that you can't let the idiot over there screaming brainwash them. And we're letting them get away with that all the time as their message gets through and ours does not.
yeah, you got to take the uninformed and the misinformed and give them the right information.
Yeah, I mean, like most people are lazy morons. I get that, and that's the way it's designed is to keep you lazy and stupid, and to make it so complicated that don't bother looking into it. Try to look up what a credit default swap is. You believe me, you'll never figure out what a credit default swap is enough to have an educated conversation about it. You can come back and say, "Man, that just sounds like a good way for a bunch of bankers to rip people off," and still not understand it because it was written to not be understandable. The government adds more government and more government and more government to make it more and more impossible for anyone to be held accountable.
Yep, you've been joined out there by Vanessa Kitty. Hello, Vanessa.
And Squib, you're making an argument with me, and you know I've said 100 times it's not about converting anyone. And I know that you understand this very well. I don't look. The people across the street, let them stay across the street. They will destroy themselves. Their narrative will fall apart. They will eat each other apart. All we have to do is stand on our side of the street and be normal. And eventually one of them will walk over and say, "Hey, what's up, guys?" and inquire. And when that person comes and inquires, kind of like Squib always talks about, when he sees this anti gunner standing next to him, or the new gun owner, or the liberal gun owner standing next to him at the rally, then Squib will give him time. And I agree with that. Don't go to the anti gunner rally and try to find a bunch of converts. Don't
Yeah,
go standing in the middle of the street with a "shall not be infringed" sign, hoping that you'll gain the public. When somebody walks up to you on Every Second Matters and says, "Hey, man, what's that patch about?" That's the person that you can talk to, somebody who comes looking for answers. Seek and ye shall find.
yeah. Nobody's saying to be the Jehovah's Witness, walking up to everybody's door and knocking on and say, "Hey, can I tell you about the Second Amendment?"
And see, Squib understands the credit default swap real simple: legalized money laundering and a giant Ponzi scheme.
Well, just like Social Security.
Yeah. I just think, I think a lot of times we get tripped up too much and into the entertainment side of having these conversations. And instead of the working towards solutions with some of these conversations. And I get yucking it up and having fun, but some of the times when we're on serious topics, don't seem like we're being very serious about it. And Squibby, I think he gets a rough time in a lot of the chats because he usually lays it out there with, "Hey, this is the actual reality of things," and then people want to complain about it because he's being mean or stubborn or whatever. I agree with him most of the time that you can't escape from the reality of what is.
Why don't people on Social Security pay income taxes? Didn't we cover that on Rick's show earlier?
I don't know. I gave it in there and thumbs up, but I couldn't watch today.
Yeah, we were talking. I think it was on Rick's show. We were talking about it.
That's Squib said he's also a jerk, and that's the best part about it.
Yeah, it was like people pay on Social Security paying income taxes is like the federal government paying themselves the taxes, which is why it's really silly if you think about it in the long term. Why does the military pay federal income taxes on the money that the federal government's paying them to do their job? It's just going into your hand and back to the federal government again. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I tried to explain to a guy, Social Security never existed in the first place, and he just wouldn't. He couldn't get it. And I was like, "Look, man, when they came up with this pretend bank account that has your Social Security in it, whether it's a giant pool of everyone's or just yours specifically, only thing that ever went in there was IOUs. There was never any money. So when they always talk about, oh, they dipped into Social Security to pay for the military, or that's nonsense. There was never a Social Security for them to dip into. As soon as they take your Social Security money out, they've spent it on Nancy Pelosi's ice cream."
Yeah, Vanessa says people on Social Security pay income taxes depending on your income gained per year. We were talking about just the people on Social Security who aren't also employed at another job, that their sole source of income is Social Security.
I guess MK Joe wants to have a drink.
Yeah, apparently.
Like, one of the things that I tried to explain to one of my friends before, and I think he kind of got it, but I don't think he wanted to admit that he got it. He was belly aching and bleeding hard about the Nancy's booze. Yeah, she's top shelf.
Yeah, he doesn't just want to drink booze. He wants to go and take Nancy Pelosi's booze.
That's some high octane stuff right there. But I forgot what I was talking. I'm gonna keep brain farting tonight, man. Oh, the social security net, not the net, but the safety net. The government safety net.
Mm-hmm.
What I think any reasonable people in the world would be all for chipping into a government safety net. Part of our taxes for the guy's house who burns down. Because they got hit by lightning. The neighborhood of 6 or 7 households that a tornado wiped out. A guy worked every day for 35 years and this company went under and he needs some temper. The people who need the stuff. The most charitable country in the world and the most charitable portion of the country in the world is not liberal Democrats, by the way.
Oh, no. Look at Bernie's acting.
But the fact that we know that it just gets brutally abused over and over and over again, and they just charge us more and more for it. That's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, if you want a perfect example of what you're talking about, look at Bernie Sanders and his charitable contributions, or Joe Biden's. It's a pittance. I pay more in charitable contributions every year than Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden do. If you go by percentage of income, it's absolutely insane.
Well, Bernie Sanders said when they found out that he wasn't paying his campaign $15 an hour, he said I can't afford to pay him $15 an hour because then I won't have any campaign staffers.
Mhm.
I have to cut half my staff. And everybody's like, "Yeah, idiot."
That's the point, moron. You know?
They asked Patrice Cullors recently. They said, "Don't you think that it's a little strange that you bought all these $1 million worth of homes and you're supposed to be looking out for the black community?" And she said, "I am looking out for the black community. I'm looking out for my family."
Yeah, rules for thee, but not for me. It's what it amounts to. It's okay for me to live in a white neighborhood, but you gotta stay there in the ghetto where you belong.
Did you hear about the mass shooting in Baltimore on last Sunday?
Say it again.
Did you hear about the mass shooting in Baltimore last Sunday?
That's a common occurrence, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to play the video or not, but there's probably about 100 gunshots that go off.
If you want to share the video, go ahead.
All right, let me go get it. I mean, I'm only gonna play it like a small portion of it because it's kind of long, and then the gunshots are only in one small portion, so there may be an F bomb or two dropped by the neighborhood people. So just to let you know, I'm gonna go get it real quick.
Dude, I think I've done said the mother of all swear words twice. Quoting somebody, mind you, but Kim, what's her face? So you're watching Kim Kardashian? Is that what you're admitting to here, Squid? Everybody, look, Squid watches Kim Kardashian.
He's probably talking about Kim Klacik. She put a snippet of the video on there. I got the whole thing.
Hey, come on, man! I had them going.
Squib's more of a Chaz Bono type to me. I think.
Caitlyn Jenner.
Apparently, there's another dude running against Jenner on the Republican
Yeah,
side. It's supposed to be pretty solid for a politician.
yeah, but it's California, man. You're gonna have Newsom versus Jenner. I guarantee it.
Most likely, yeah, but I mean, it'd be all right if the normal person actually got up there.
Again, it's California.
Right.
Bono from UT? No. Sonny and Cher's daughter who thinks that she's a man. And looks like one too, I might add. Before she transitioned.
Has she got like a Hispanic thing going on too?
Something like that. I mean, it's like, what the hell?
Okay, I found it.
Okay.
You'll have to let me know how it sounds and all that kind of stuff once I get it up. You see it?
Yeah,
All right. Let's see.
that sounds good.
Yeah, that's 8 o'clock Sunday. Just
Hmm.
normal day in Baltimore.
Typical day in Baltimore and Chicago.
The next day, 8 people were shot too. 4 people were shot that day. I think either 3 died or 1 died. I can't remember the exact details. And then 8 more people were shot the next day.
I really can't say I'm surprised. At this point, it's sad, but it's true. I mean, anytime you see this stuff coming out of like Baltimore or Chicago, New York City, it's like okay. It's like at this point we're conditioned to expect it because it happens constantly. Where's Black Lives Matter when something like that happens?
Black Lives Matter has a very interesting relationship with Baltimore. Uh, they have a very small presence in DC, and most of that is surrounded in national level protest. Actually
Hmm.
being like on the ground and going in the neighborhoods, Black Lives Matter would never ever try that in DC. Black Lives Matter won't come around Baltimore because the guys in Baltimore will shoot every one of those people. They're not going to have it. When Baltimore burned down Baltimore for Freddie Gray, that was Baltimore burning down Baltimore. I know a bunch of people always like to talk about busloads of people getting shipped in because it happens. I can tell you very, very distinctly and clearly the people who burnt down Baltimore were the Baltimore residents.
Hmm. Oh
And
yeah, Minnesota. Yeah, it's like the same thing in Minnesota.
if Black Lives Matter shows up, most of those people end up getting shot. The Baltimore thugs aren't going to have you come into their city and burn it down. They'll take care of it themselves.
Yeah, it's like the mafia. You didn't see people going and burning down mafia sections of like New York and Los Angeles during the '60s. Why? Because the mafia would have killed them if they tried it. Yeah. And speaking of this, have you seen the fiasco with the juror in the Chauvin case?
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of different things about that.
Yeah.
If
Did you ever participate in a Black Lives Matter rally? No. Have you ever heard anything about any speaker at any event talking about the George Floyd situation? No. So, yeah, then they got pictures of the guy where he is wearing a shirt from a Black Lives Matter rally that has Martin Luther King Jr.'s face on it and it says, "Get your knee off our neck." And where he got that shirt, George Floyd's brother was speaking.
that the George Floyd thing was in the end, the way we're sitting right now, I have to say was a masterful event. Uh, they did a very good job. They were extremely successful for over a year, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to bounce back from that one, especially now if for whatever crazy reason he gets another case, and for whatever slight chance of a possibility he has an honest jury and judge and a fair trial. But the way they pulled that off, the whole thing from the start to the finish, it was sloppy, it was crappy, it was unorganized. And every time you said, "Hey man, well what about this?" they said, "Shut up, what are you going to do about it?" And we just took it. Well done, leftist.
Yeah. The thing about this, if this, along with other things that have happened, gets this case thrown out, it's never going to trial again. There, there's no way that you're going to get a jury that hasn't seen all of this shit happen. You're not going to be able to get a jury for this case.
The
There's not
most,
going to be a legitimate jury assembled for
the
it. And
most high profile case that we had, and Keith Ellison said he's not releasing any of the body cam footage. You've got to get a special permit, and you can't make any notes, and you can't take any pictures. You can only observe, and you can't even observe all of the tapes. You have to pick parts of the tapes that you get to watch. Every other case, everyone demanded body cam footage immediately, and Keith Ellison just said, "What are you gonna do about it?"
Keith Ellison can say that all he wants. The body cam footage is already out there.
Yeah, but you know how much body cam footage is out there that nobody knows exists.
Oh,
Most people don't know that there's body cam footage of Floyd chewing on his drugs. You can see it in his mouth.
oh yeah. If you watch the trial, they recovered the drugs from the back of the cop car.
The ones he didn't swallow.
Yeah.
That killed him.
Yeah, the same drugs
To
that
Breonna
the
Taylor.
coroner found, the medical examiner found in his system. They also found with his DNA in the back of the cop car.
People still say her name, Breonna Taylor. And there's endless amounts of evidence that says that Breonna Taylor was not an innocent woman shot in her bed.
Yeah. Oh, no kidding. She was shot in the hallway because her boyfriend was using her as a human shield as he shot at the police through the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's not forget the latest episode, the idiot with the knife that the cop shot, and the person that he saved is thanking the cop profusely, and yet they want to prosecute and that string this guy up from the nearest goddamn phone pole.
You're next.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like Gladiator? I like Gladiator movies. I think that's a reference to some movie line.
Mm-hmm. I think Squib's hinting that he wants us to change the subject.
Oh, you can change the subject.
So what? I don't know. Yeah, thanks, LeBron. Yeah. There's a reason why a few weeks ago on a budget show, LeBron was the moron of the week. And then you get this week's winner was a doozy too. Did you see a budget show on Thursday night?
I caught little bits of pieces of it.
Moron of the week this week was the woman who gets pulled over by a cop in the Los Angeles area and starts going off on him about how he's a murderer. Every word, every sentence he said, because you're a murderer. Because you're a murderer. And I'm a teacher. It's like, oh, great. That's all we need. This moron in a classroom.
Yeah, but see, there was a whole bunch of online outrage, but nobody showed up and protested in front of her school for 2 days until she was fired.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if she got in trouble or not. I'll quit paying attention to that story.
I don't think she did. But it is California, so, I mean, it's one of those places where she's going to get a pass for it.
I mean, everybody just wants to blame the teachers' unions. Nobody wants to blame the teachers.
So, Jimmy, do you like gladiator movies?
Mhm. Airplane was a fantastic movie, man. My
Mm-hmm.
favorite part is when he's punching the guys out, the Hare Krishnas out, walking through the walking through the airport.
Oh no, the best part is when June Cleaver gets up on the plane and starts speaking jive to the black dudes.
Me and my friends studied those verses, and we used to do that all the time. And I can't remember them now. It's like, yeah, Holmes, I can get the gray matter back and form a down stroke. Take two CB. But I can't remember. I can't remember them anymore, man. But we used to trip people out saying that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that movie was good. And then you got the obligatory topless lady.
I like
Just out of nowhere, you got this woman with no shirt on the airplane.
I like the lineup when they were all walking up to slap that woman that was panicking.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? The dude's alcohol problem was he just threw the water in his. He just threw the drink in his face.
Yeah, I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue.
Roger, Roger. That's a correct, Victor, Vector. Vector, Victor. I screwed that up, dude.
Yeah. Don't eat the fish. Shirley, you must be joking. No, I'm not joking, and don't call me Shirley. That
That's
was that was Leslie Nielsen's very first comedy performance ever.
oh man, I don't care, man. I know that they're cheesy, and I know that they're cornballish, but I think that's what makes it work so much for me. The Naked Gun movies were
Oh
great.
man, yeah.
Leslie
God,
Nielsen's awesome.
the love scene in the first movie,
Oh, with the whole
the,
the
the full
clay.
length body costumes, yeah,
Yeah.
the condoms, yeah.
It's Enrico Palazzo. My one friend, he was always stuck on the I've been swimming in raw sewage and I love it.
Mhm. Was it the second one where they walk into the sex toy shop and the chick at the counter's like, "Is this some kind of bust?" And he looks down at her chest and says, "It's impressive, yes, but no, that's not why we're here." And then meanwhile, you see George Kennedy behind a plane with electric drill with a dildo on the end of
Uh,
it. Yeah, those movies are great. And remember the one, was it the second or third one that had the doctor who was they were trying to get the crowd energized so that the bad guy's hypnosis thing didn't work, so they hand him a sex novel and he starts reading that. Yeah, those were good.
yeah.
And don't forget the first one where he punches the queen.
Well, yeah, the very first pitch of the game, and he's strike.
Yeah, and he starts dancing and stuff.
He brings out the vacuum and cleans off home plate.
Oh, man. They don't make movies like that anymore.
No, they greed. I think took over, man. You know, they just remake the same movies over and over and over again,
Yeah.
so they've lost the originality.
I don't
And
know
now
if
I
they
guess
can make movies like that.
politically, everybody's afraid now.
Yeah, I don't know if they can make movies like that anymore. The people that made those movies were all conservative. You look at Airplane, and the Naked Gun; those were done by the same people. They're conservative people. The last movie they did was An American Carol, and it got critically panned, was a bust at the box office. That movie is freaking funny as hell. If you've
Yeah,
never
but
seen it.
that's why you can't. All the numbers, all that stuff is they've invalidated all that kind of crap now, dude.
Yeah.
Who was Pizza Head's wife? Good stuff, man. I'm watching American History Channel. They're talking about the gangsters tonight.
But have you seen an American Carol?
I don't know what is it. It sounds familiar.
It's the one where Chris Farley's brother plays like a lefty, and it's kind of like a Christmas Carol in trying to make him see that being on the left is wrong. And his character is kind of like a Michael Moore type. At one point, you got Bill O'Reilly and George Washington, who's played by John Voight, in a porta potty with this guy, and Bill O'Reilly and John Voight just slapped the shit out of him, like a wake up kind of moment. Yeah. But it's pretty funny, and that's Leslie Nielsen is like the narrator of the story. He's telling these kids this story. They're at like his grandson's birthday party or something. It's a good movie, but because it's got the right wing message and was made by conservatives, the critics hated it. You know, because the critics were all lefties. You know, Siskel and Ebert and all them morons. Came out in the mid 2000s, if I remember right. But, yeah, it's a much better movie than what the critics said it was.
Yeah, no, I just looked it up. I've never seen that, but yeah, my favorite part about this, why once again, you don't argue with these people because they're so stupid. Hollywood cries and complains about racism and sexism in the movie industry. It's you, dummy.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite line from Kamala Harris is when after she got 0 votes and dropped out of the Democrat running this time around. And the lady asked her, she said, "Why'd you drop out?" And she was like, "Electability." And I was like, "Yeah, you finally just told the truth there." Then she went on to complain about being a black woman. But hey,
Mm-hmm.
dummy, only Democrats didn't vote. A whole bunch of you didn't vote for you. So all
Yeah.
these racist, sexist, bigoted, you're people.
Yep. She just realized what the Democratic Party is all about, and she's still too stupid to completely understand that. Hey, wait a minute.
Well, she knows she can say anything she wants, and the bimbo across the seat from her is never going to challenge her.
Yeah. And she didn't even have to win. She's won falling down the stairs by bumbling Joe from the position she wanted in the first place.
It's funny. The two people who got the least amount of votes are in the White House right now.
Yeah.
Nobody voted for Joe Biden until Super Tuesday. And only reason that he got any votes on Super Tuesday is because most of the candidates dropped out before the voting started. And a bunch of them still got a whole bunch of votes too.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch like boot edges people. I remember they came on the internet and they were pissed off because all their votes that they put in for boot edge went to Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm. Who is now what, transportation secretary and wants to shut down the highway system?
You seen him get caught riding his bike to work, right?
Oh yeah. Like you drive him about a block away from the building, and then he gets out and gets on his bike and rides the rest of the way.
Allegedly, I may have possibly in Minecraft told people at the January 6th rally everything you're doing is on camera. Everything. Right now, and I even looking around and said, matter of fact, there's a camera right there on that pole. Allegedly, if I was there, which I may or may not have been.
Mm-hmm. Well, hell, you've been to DC before, so I mean, we've both been in DC. We know we know there's cameras all over the place there. Wasn't there on January 6th, but I've been there in the past.
That's one. All right. Explain to me, and I don't know if Squib's still watching or not, but maybe Squib could explain to me too his opinion. The DC rally was what it was. It was fairly successful, I guess. I don't. I've already. I went to the rally to meet y'all, not to go to the rally. I went there to see you guys. So aside from my rally experience, the rally experience, I guess, was successful. Then that very next year, they didn't do it because the government said no.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there was
Yep.
gobs and gobs and gobs of people in DC the whole time.
Yep.
Nobody else paid attention to the rules. My question is, okay, I get it that time. You wanted to play by the rules. You asked for a permit. They said, no, you can't come. You didn't go. This year, when you say, hey, we want to come to DC, and they say, no, you can't come, are they just going to get in line again and do that atrocious mess that they did last time and have an internet rally?
Quite possible.
Well,
You know
sounds,
what?
sounds a
I
whole
think,
lot like they shall comply.
yeah. I say if they say you can't do it in DC, do it in Martinsburg, right across the street from the tech branch of the ATF.
Do it in DC.
Do it
They
in
can't
both.
do it. Yeah, do it in DC. Look, the biggest thing about permits is setting up a microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, don't bring a microphone, bring a megaphone. Realize nobody really cares about your stupid speech. Just be here and let everybody see that we're not playing around. We don't want to do this anymore. We've heard your speeches 100 million times, and I don't like none of you 2A celebrities. Give Squib the microphone. Give Rick the microphone. Give Jason Stewart the microphone. But no, they're not going to do that. They're going to make sure that all their famous celebrity friends got the microphone to say the same stupid thing over and over. Yeah, Squib, it's all about them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can keep complaining if you want me to, or we can change the subject.
I don't even know what to change the subject to at this point.
All right, so, another thing I think we put up with, yeah, Squid doesn't need a megaphone. That's right. Uh,
Yeah, we've all been on live streams with the exclusive. We know.
I think I think we're all still too woke. We're too impressed by the check the box gun owner, whether it be the checkbox female gun owner, liberal gun owner, new gun owner, gay gun owner, black gun owner, Asian black owner, gay black mixed with Asian mixed with Hispanic gun owner. And the more and more we feed into that, the less and less we're going to have. The next time somebody says, yeah, I'm a gay gun owner, say, shut up, dude. Nobody cares. Shut up.
Like, I don't
Just
give
talk
a
about
shit.
your guns and leave your homosexuality out of it. I didn't bring my Buddhism into it or my atheism into it or whatever your thing might be. I'm not interested in your checked box and gun owner. Let's talk about 2A.
Yeah, that's what annoys me about Chris Cheng. Every time you see that guy speak somewhere, he has to bring up the fact he's gay. I don't give a fuck.
Kevin Dixie can't talk a sentence without bringing up race.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Tony Simon. Tony Simon can't go 5 sentences without bringing up race. The pink pistol thing, if you personally, valued listener to the Rich White channel, decide that you're cool with somebody that's a guy pretending to be a girl, then okay, whatever. I'm not going to promote that, and I don't care that that person has a gun right now. They're still not on my side.
Yeah, I think we've both in the past made our views on that abundantly clear. Yeah. And I think I made my views clear about environmentalists when we were watching WrestleMania. If you remember what I called Daniel Bryan that night.
Right.
And that just slipped out. It's like, oh shit. Did I just say what I thought I said? Great. This stream's going to get taken down. That's another thing. Fucking goddamn censorship on fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
No, what about Islam? Fuck Islam.
Yeah, exactly.
God, I can't stand Islam. I got it. Me and this, I've said made a comment on one of the um, channels that I watched. Where who the hell's was it? It might have been Apostate Prophet's channel. He put a post about something that he was going to be doing, and I made a comment, and then I got some dumb Muslim. He's like, "Oh, the intellectual, blah blah blah." I was like, "Dude, shut the fuck up." Essentially, is what I told him. He starts going, "That's not an intellectual response." I was like, "No shit, Sherlock. I don't care to speak rationally to you morons who are completely and totally irrational and follow a religion that says that I should be dead. Go fuck yourself." And he's like, "I'm going to pray to Allah that you see." I was like, "I don't give a fuck. Don't pray for me to your fake Allah. I don't give a shit. I don't want it. I don't respect it. I don't respect you." I was like, "Jesus says to love your enemies, but you motherfuckers make it awful hard to do."
I had this. I can't remember what video. I was internet surfing a couple weeks ago, and I came across some girl who made. I don't know if it was. I don't even remember what the video was. It was some short little like quick punchline video that was cute. So I was like, "Oh, that's pretty good." I enjoy seeing videos like this once in a while. And somebody responded to me the other day. Simp detected. I texted him back and I said, "I'm really glad that you project on me everything, man." But no, I said it must suck being as weak as you are that you have to project everything on me, especially when I just leave a positive comment on a YouTube video. And then I think he ended up blocking me because I went back to clear it out, and when I clicked on it, it wasn't there anymore.
The one music channel I watch, somebody goes off on somebody because they said the Eagles. I was like, I went off on a long rant about how that is actually proper English to do because it is a specific plural group. You don't just call them Eagles, you call them the Eagles. And the being in lowercase in the middle of a sentence signifies that that's not part of the band's name. God, people are so fucking stupid anymore.
Just don't bother arguing with him, man.
Oh no, I didn't argue with him because he never responded back. But I got everybody else in that comments thread there was laughing and thanking me for putting that guy in his place.
I get whacked quite a bit in the comment section. So with my channel, most of the time now I just leave a thumb up and a heart if you leave a comment on my video because I've got to go into my YouTube studio and pull open my comments to get all my comments now. YouTube just screwed me on that, and most of the time I'll just leave a thumbs up or a two thumbs up if I watch your video or something like nice or cool. Because if anytime I leave anything more than a sentence, and if I say anything even remotely controversial, my comments get deleted, and I get a notification from YouTube talking about my conduct. Man, like I'm pretty close to throwing in the towel with the YouTube censorship and just either dutifully following the rules or stop using YouTube.
How many times have I commented on one of your videos and it's been deleted?
Dude, that's been going on for a year or so with my channel, man. It took me a while to figure out what was happening. I even talked about it on one of Travis's shows. I pulled up and was showing everybody, look what's happening here. And then as I noticed it more and more, I started figuring out what was happening. And I would get, let's say, I put out a video, and the first, say, 10 comments I get, 3 of them would get deleted, at least, on almost every video. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Pat's out there now. So hey, Pat. But Apostate Prophet last night had David Wood on. It's the first time he's been on anything in a couple of months now because he just decided I'm taking time off. He needed, because he was just getting ridiculous with the death threats and everything. He's like, his kid's nurse quit, and then the other nurse quit, and so they got one. I don't know if you know David. You know who David Wood is from Apologetics 17. His kids are terminally ill. They were supposed to have been dead by now. So they have nurses come in to help take care of them. 2 of the nurses quit because they didn't like each other. And the other nurse that they have can only work part-time. So him and his wife have been taking turns when the nurse is there working as the nurse. And with all this shit that he was getting online with his videos and stuff from the Muslims and the death threats and stuff on Twitter and shit, he just like, I'm just taking time off for a while. So he's been gone for quite a while now. But he was on a Apostate Prophet show last night, and they were talking about the algorithm, like what you were just talking about. Both of them have seen it happen with their channels.
Well, you've been there. I hang out in a little bit in some spicier chat rooms than most other gun channels chats.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm used to seeing the Google moderator team has deleted your comment.
Oh, good Lord, yeah. That one Saturday, you and I were telling all the jokes about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, every other one was getting deleted.
I'm glad that you saw. There was another time in one of the chats. I don't remember whose channel we were on, and I know I had a wrench, and I said something, and it got deleted. And Ghost was like, "Wow, that was interesting." And I was like, "Well, I'm glad you were here to see that because this happens to me all the time."
Yeah, and we were both getting the Google moderator team, and wasn't even YouTube, but Google's moderator team says that this post is inappropriate. I hadn't even posted it yet. I mean, I hit enter, and it was instantly gone, and didn't even have time to appear for anybody to have actually seen and reviewed it.
My buddy Oz, that makes like my wood burns and stuff like that. He made me a Kingpin T-shirt. He does a lot of live streaming and just where he's playing video games, just on his PlayStation 5 playing UFC or Red Dead Redemption or something. So I go over there and chill with him because me and him have been friends for quite a while now. And when he's playing Red Dead Redemption, I'm always a bad influence. So I'm just talking about shoot everybody, shoot everybody. Hey, shoot that guy. Hey, shoot that thing. Shoot it. Because you can't just kill everything. You'll lose the game. So, but I'm always the one instigating. Now it's got to where if I talk about directly shooting somebody, it'll show up on my screen in the YouTube chat. But when I'm looking at his screen that he's playing the video game on, it won't show up in his chat.
Yeah, it's like when you don't have a wrench and you go to post a link and it just doesn't show up for everybody else. It'll show up on your screen as having been posted, but nobody else can see it.
And see, it used to be it would show up for everybody and a moderator could just approve it.
Yep.
But I think when they changed the 3 little dots on the side, I think they changed a bunch of the moderator powers too.
Oh yeah, it's no longer a ban; it's a hide.
I don't know. I'm gonna hey snobbies out there. Odyssey's got live streaming up, so I'm gonna try to figure out how to do a live stream on Odyssey, and you can multicast, but I don't know if I can because I just use my laptop. I'm not buying cameras and all that crap. Uh, if I can do it on both, I'll do it on both. If I can only do it on Odyssey, then I'll put out a YouTube video and see if anybody will come over there. Snobby should get on Odyssey and do some live streaming. But
Snob doesn't do live streams. What are you talking about? Snob only does live streams if they're giving something away and the other hens make them.
another thing, well, see the type of stuff that Snob does is popular with people. I mean, he's got like almost 20,000 subs or something like that now, or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
On Odyssey, they use cryptocurrency that everybody has. As soon as you sign up for Odyssey, you get a bank account of whatever their and I don't know anything about this stuff, so if you're interested, that's not my thing. But if you're interested in getting paid to be on the internet, first of all, YouTube's not getting any of your money, so Black Lives Matter and Joe Biden's not going to get any of your money. So that's what happens when you give it to YouTube, and then they censor you with your money. And if they decide to just keep all your money and screw you and all your viewers that donate to you, honestly, everybody that watches a video can donate to you each video or other different ways and stuff like that. But once again, you'd have to care about getting paid to do this kind of stuff to learn about it. And I don't, so I didn't learn about it, but it's there.
Yeah. Snob says he's all about investing in some crypto. Can he use cows to do that? How many cows equals one Bitcoin?
I don't know. I mean, that's more of a philosophical question because right now Bitcoin's what 5,000 a coin or something like that. Or,
Like 35 grand per coin.
okay, well, I don't know. So
Yeah.
okay, so you could argue that one Bitcoin is worth more than any cow that any single cow as it stands that Snob might have. Just assuming, I don't know how much cows cost, but I'm sure they're not $35,000. But then Snob could argue, well, this is my birthing cow
Oh,
who's
shit.
got me 500 cows over its lifetime, which is maybe $10 million. Or this cow is going to weigh 500 more pounds in a month, and I'm going to sell it to Texas Roadhouse and make 60 grand off of it or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
you have to get into that.
Snob says that Bitcoin is currently $59,000 per coin. That's insane. Something that doesn't even exist. It's
I
worth
was thinking,
$59,000.
I was thinking about buying some of that Dodge coin just for fun of it. You know, spend $20 on it and see what happens. I don't know. I don't know if you have to pay maintenance fees and
I
somebody
don't
keep an eye on
know.
that stuff for you over time. You know, if I can just buy some for $20 and see what happens, lose or win, then so be it. But I don't want to have to get into a whole bunch of complicated stuff.
Yeah, I've not bothered with any of it. I've never even been interested in it. It's like that when people wise up and realize that it's really not worth anything, it's gonna go broke so fast.
Well, that's the problem with the real dollar. When people realize that our economy's been pretend for the past 100
Yeah,
years,
but at least with money, you actually have the government saying it's worth something. There is nothing that makes any value whatsoever to this cryptocurrency except for somebody who owns a company that made it says it's worth something. It's like, dude, it's not worth anything. It's not even existent. It's not even paper money. You can't actually even hold it. It's it's completely and totally just a bunch of pixels on a screen. I'm not spending thousands of dollars to get into this cryptocurrency shit if there's not something physical on in the real world side that corresponds to it.
I mean, investing in anything that's not, really investing in anything, I mean, you're ultimately falling back on the big fish and all their behind the scenes pulling the strings and deal making to determine whether or not, I mean, they've corrupted the system so much. Even if you buy property, then you got a bunch of politicians jacking you up on property taxes and changing regulations for the environment and this, that, and the third, and building code and all that, which screws you up with your property.
Yeah. And Squib says, I mean, not Squib, Snob says, it's just like sticking it in a slot machine. I don't do that either.
Well, no,
I don't play
it's
slots machines.
yeah, but listen, you got to read this whole. You got to read this whole comment. It's like
Yeah.
sticking it in the slot machine. This is purely for entertainment value.
Yeah.
Nobody, Snobby's talking about walking up to a slot machine with $5 in quarters that you intend to give away just to have some fun watching the bells go by.
Yeah, I don't do that either. I don't.
Right, but he does, and that's why
Yeah, I
he's
know
doing
he
it,
does.
because it's no big deal.
Yeah.
It'd be like you. It'd be like you buying Transformer. The classic Optimus Prime comes out, and you go spend $50 on it. Snob's sitting there going, "That's dumb. That's stupid. I would
Yeah,
never
but
do
at least I got a physical product that has the potential to actually go up in value. It's not
Snob
something
doesn't care about
it,
that.
it actually exists.
He doesn't care about that. He says right there, it's entertainment value. He's
Yeah.
willing to take that $90
Oh,
and
I get what he's saying. I just don't find that to be entertaining.
Right, he does.
Yeah. No, he says he doesn't really play the slots. He was just using it as an example.
Come on, he's Native American. Those guys are addicted to gambling.
No, they run the casinos. They don't actually gamble in them.
Yeah, true. I guess that's right.
Yeah, that's how they get back at the white man.
That's a legend.
Paleface go play a slot machine. We make money.
Red Lives Matter.
Oh, well. We are going to be in so much trouble.
I like gambling. I don't play like the. I'll get one of the $1 billion Mega Millions tickets or something because my friend will bring me one. When it's $1 billion or something, record setting, he'll come in and be like, "Hey, I got you a ticket."
Yeah, that's what my wife does. She'll play that and she'll play Powerball. It's like
I like the scratch offs every once in a while. Like if I see one that's really
I broke her of those ones. It was like, okay, you're buying that scratch off. Why don't you just walk in the bathroom right over the restroom or over there and just throw the $2 in the toilet and flush it?
Because it's fun. She doesn't care about winning. She wants to take
she wanted to win.
Fun.
She wanted to win.
Well, of course, everybody wants to win, but you have a gambling problem when you base your budget on whether or not you win or not. When you walk into the liquor store to buy a scratch off with your last $5 and you're depending on winning the $50 prize, you're an idiot. When you walk into the convenience store and you throw $2 that's curled up in the bottom of your purse on a scratch off because it's got pretty little snowflakes on it, that's no big deal, man.
Snob, as long as it was the one that's connected to his neck and not connected lower down on his anatomy, that's perfectly fine.
Yes, MJ. I've been to Atlantic City a couple times, and I've entered 3 hold'em tournaments, and thankfully was cool enough to be able to win 2 of those tournaments. I did lose the last tournament to my girlfriend at the time. She actually won that tournament, so technically I was 3 for 3 in the Texas Hold'em tournaments in Atlantic City. But I'm not like a huge. That was just because a bunch of my friends wanted to go, and then one day my girlfriend wanted to go.
I think Snob is saying that it's hard to tell which one of Obi's heads is which. He says I think it was bald. Yeah. But Hold'em, I've never been a fan of Hold'em.
I like playing cards.
Yeah, I didn't say I don't like playing cards. I don't like playing cards. I just Texas Hold'em never appealed to me.
I prefer to play spades. The problem especially with the kind of quality of people that I used to hang around with. When you start betting, people start getting to be jerks. It doesn't become as much fun. Uh, or everybody, 10 people are having fun and there's one jerk. So it's usually not worth it. So you just play spades because it's free.
Yeah, I just if I was going to play poker, it was going to be either draw or one of the various studs, because then you're only playing your cards. You don't got everybody playing the same hand that's sitting there on the table trying to make that work with whatever you have in your hand. You get what I'm saying?
Chicken foot with dominoes. What's chicken foot?
I have no clue.
Uh, I don't know if it's called chicken foot or not. I guess it would be Russian roulette, but there's a couple of videos on the internet of these uh, Harvard graduate scholars flipping the cylinder of a revolver and aiming it at their own foot, waiting to see if it'll go off. And a
Uh,
guy,
I,
the
yeah,
one guy,
that's chicken version of Russian roulette.
the
I
one guy
don't
that
think
I
that's what
remember,
he's talking about, because he said it's a dominoes game that he's talking about.
the one guy that I remember the most was talking all kinds of trash, and he had already had a bandaged foot, and bow, shot himself again.
Yeah, real Russian roulette is like Christopher Walken in The Deer Hunter when he was losing his mind.
Let me see if I can find that. I'll be right.
Russian roulette with semi-auto. Good luck, Snob. We're rooting for you, man. How's who feeling? Yeah, I noticed earlier Squib is still saying that hot toddies don't have pea in them. I don't know where he's getting his recipes from. I really don't. Yeah, whoever he is feeling better. Apparently. Again, I don't know what they're talking about. So. Kojo used to deal card games at house shows or house games before they legalized it in Maryland. Yeah, we've got a casino in Maryland not far from here up at oh, what the hell's the name of that place? Freaking hell, can't think of it now. They used to have a country music festival there too before COVID. It's one of the damn state parks in Maryland.
You ready for this?
Rocky Gap, that's what it is. Okay, what?
You ready for this one?
For what? Well, I don't know. What is it?
Yeah, shoot himself in the foot for the second
Oh,
time.
okay.
It's graphic and it's violent language, so
Yep. Yeah, I would expect somebody shooting himself in the foot to be graphic. So, but was it a Ruger that he thought wouldn't shoot if you took the magazine out?
No, that's a revolver. All right, here we go.
Well, Snob's gonna play Russian roulette with somebody.
You see, bang, right here.
Yeah.
He just said he's fresh out of the hospital.
Yeah.
Niggas talk shit about that ain't my foot. I got a white foot and all that other shit. Round two, motherfucker. People say, you want first shot? Pop that motherfucker. Get in here. You want to play? First shot. First shot.
This is what you call stupid.
I still want me to spin the motherfucker. They don't think Woo! Spin the motherfucker. Nah, I got this. Fuck that. I'm gonna make sure on this motherfucker. I ain't never want to play, motherfucker. Don't play. I got it there.
Fucking idiots. Oh my god.
Fucked up.
How damn stupid can you possibly be? Good Lord. Yeah, I wonder what some people got going through their heads when they come up with shit like that. God damn. What kind of drugs were they on? Tomorrow's leaders. Scary thought. But no, not really, because if they're playing games like that, they're not going to live long enough to be tomorrow's leaders.
More like tomorrow's leavers, like leaving this plane of existence.
Yeah. They're future Darwin Award winners. Yeah. He's only been going for almost 2.5 hours now. The show was never designed to be this long, but somehow it is.
Where's Snobby? I mean, I know that he's with the hens, but what's the occasion?
I don't know. I wasn't invited, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah, right there, C4.
He says, Snob says crypto's entertainment. He is right. I don't find anything entertaining about it, on it, quite honestly. If anything, it's pissing me off because it's one of the factors that's keeping me from able to get a good video card. So I don't give a shit about it.
That's cute. Nothing wrong. See, Mystic thinks that's a bad thing, but she just doesn't get the camaraderie of brotherhood.
Mm-hmm. As far as I'm concerned, all those cryptocurrencies can fuck right off. I have no use for them.
I've never heard of what Litecoin. I've never heard of that.
She says it's not a bad thing when she gets a free weekend with no Snob, and Snob says it's the annual Summit of the Hens.
See what she meant, but what she means by that is time away from Snob lets her deeply appreciate the fact that she has him. So when he gets home, she can treat him twice as good as she ever has before. Or probably not.
I don't know.
Thanks, Snobby. Love you too, bud.
Mm-hmm. But at least when he's not single.
Look, I keep telling you guys. Snobby's going to hit the big time,
Uh-huh.
and you all are going to regret. Now, see, see, that's where the majesticness of Snob comes in, because I'm sitting here as my mean, horrible, bad person self thinking that when Snobby hits the big time, he's going to remember that all of you guys mocked him and trashed his singing voice and
Yeah.
his
Now,
performance, and he's going to hold it against you. But he's more magnanimous than that. When he hits the big time, he's going to forgive you of all of that. And
now,
he's going to
David,
shower you with his
I
love.
got I got to stop you right there. You're as bad as Scotsman. I know for a fact that you're not a bad person. Bad persons don't send people $50 in the mail randomly, telling them to take their wife out to dinner.
I'm talking about intellectual planning. Like, that's what I'm saying. I would make a fantastic dictator. Please put me in charge, because I will gladly rule over everybody with an iron fist. Gladly.
Uh-huh.
Snob has that perfectly velvet glove. Velvet gloves want Snob's hands. Like when
Yeah.
velvet gloves are looking for the soft touch, they say, Snob, can we borrow your hands?
You're talking about a guy who shoves his hands up cow butts, Kingpin. I don't think the gloves went anywhere near those.
It takes a sensitive man to be able to do that. He's not doing that for pleasure. He's doing that because there's life inside there that he's checking on.
No, not inside the butt. I didn't say inside the other part. I said it's up to their butt. And of course, Pat's in the same boat as with that, because we both heard the horror stories that Pat said.
Pat's a little bit weird. Pat's a nice guy. He's a little bit weird. He's no snobby.
We're just gonna offend everybody tonight. Fuck it. Pat's weird. Snob likes shoving his hands up cows' butts. What? Who else can we pick on? Oh, man. Let's see. We've offended Muslims.
That's easy.
Yeah, that's not hard to do.
You don't even have to really try to do that.
Yeah. Oh, have you ever? Do you know who Sam Shamoon is?
Nope.
By any chance? He's the one bald dude that David Wood has on his live stream sometimes. He's the Middle Eastern guy.
Nope.
Oh man, it was funny the one time because they were talking about how Muslims try saying how this means in the Bible means it's Muhammad, and so because the word may sound slightly maybe similar to the word Muhammad, so he comes out with well, in Old Hebrew, Akbar means mouse. So every time they say Allahu Akbar, they're calling Muhammad a mouse. I mean, Allah a mouse. So Allah is a mouse. And he had a picture that he held up of Mickey Mouse that said, I am Allah. Oh, man. That was special. Then he had another picture that he held up that was a picture of Muhammad. And Muhammad had a sock puppet with two right arms. And the sock puppet had the word bubble coming from, I am Allah, bow down and pray me. pray to me. Insinuating that Allah is made up by Muhammad and is Muhammad's sock puppet.
I remember one time the dude was going off, and he kept talking about there's some. I can't remember exact, because it's hard. His accent's still kind of thick, so it's kind of hard to understand him sometimes. But he was rambling on about some of the scripture says that Allah asked Muhammad to pray for him, or the people to pray for him. And he's like, if I'm God, why do I need you to pray for me? And he just went and tore into this caller. I mean, it was funny, man. He must have rambled on for about 5 or 6 minutes about how stupid it was. Please pray for me, and this means this. I mean,
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. There's a scripture from in the Muslim Hadiths that said that Allah basically prayed to Muhammad. Okay, And you get the Muslims saying, no, that's not what it says. It doesn't say Allah prayed to Muhammad. It says Allah prays for Muhammad. So the obvious next logical question is, well, who the hell is Allah praying to?
Right.
If Allah is supposed to be the supreme God, who the hell is he praying to? And they don't have an answer to that one. Then they change it. No, he's blessing him by praying for him. Yes, exactly. Who's he praying to? You know, it's just they can't get. They don't even get their own stupidity. I swear. Well, the best one is you get these Muslims saying that David Wood got destroyed in a debate by somebody. Okay, I don't remember. It was something or other that he was supposed to have been debating. He wasn't the one that was debating him. He was the moderator. Apparently, according to the Muslims, David Wood lost the debate against this Muslim scholar by being the debate moderator. This is the mentality we're dealing with these people.
Yeah, I mean, liars will say anything.
Yeah, I expect nothing less of the people who follow the religion of murder, sexual assault, and rape of little children. Remember, Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old girl, sucked on the tongues of little boys, who is, according to the Hadiths, one of the prettiest, notice I said prettiest, men in the Islamic world, come to his tent in the middle of the night, who conveniently look like Jibril. If you don't know who Jibril is, that's the Islamic word for the angel Gabriel. Meanwhile, this was an actual guy, but when he came to Muhammad's tent in the middle of the night, that was Jibril bringing him a message from Allah. I'm sure he was. And Muhammad admittedly wore Aisha's clothes. By the way, that's the 9-year-old who he had sex with. And walked around with cum-stained clothes everywhere he went. Aisha narrated that she was continuously having to scratch cum stains off of Muhammad's clothes. And he would have sex with 11 women in one night and only take one bath. The man was disgusting. And this is all in the Hadiths and the Quran. And that's not the least. It gets worse. If you believe it or if you've never read the Quran, if they would marketed that book from the very beginning as a comedy, it would have been a 5-star novel. As the basis for a worldview or religion or anything else, it's a complete and total disaster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kojo wants us to go back to wrestling. And Stacy says no. Let's see what else. Oh yeah. Water cannot be corrupted, so if you come across a well that has dead animals, menstrual rags, and just utter garbage in it, it's perfectly safe to drink, according to the Prophet of Islam. According to the Prophet of Islam, he rode a donkey up to the moon, and the moon was split in half, which has been proven to be patently false. And according to the Prophet of Muhammad, Prophet of Islam, the Prophet of Allah, Alexander the Great was a Muslim before Islam ever existed, rode his horse to the end of the world, which doesn't exist, and saw the sun set into a muddy pool of water. And Muslims say that the Quran is the greatest book of science ever written because it also has gems like this. If a fly lands in your food, push it all the way down in because on one wing is the disease and on the other is the cure. And if you do not push it all the way down in, only the wing with the disease goes into your food and you do not get the cure.
Sounds pretty much like Dr. Fauci wrote that thing.
Yeah, right. But yes, this is the great book of science that Islamists will tell you that the Quran is. Oh yeah, by the way, semen comes from the rib cage, according to the Quran. And whoever orgasms first, that is who the child will look like. You can't make this shit up.
Obviously, you can. They just did.
No. I mean, if when you're talking about the fact that this is in their holy book, you cannot make this up. This stuff is in their holy books, in their holy texts. And this is the religion people want to follow? I don't get it. I don't get it. I know I'm forgetting stuff because it's been a long time since I read the Quran. Quite a few years. We had to read it when I was in school for apologetics class, so we knew what the hell the Muslims were believing. And we're reading this book in school, and we're all just laughing our asses off at it. it's utter and sheer stupidity.
Yep.
And the insanity of what is in that book. My favorite is Muhammad says that Allah will kill a false prophet by cutting their life vein, their aorta. Anybody want to guess how Muhammad dies? He was poisoned by a Jewish woman who made him dinner after Muhammad ordered her entire village, including her family, killed. So Muhammad decides that he's going to have somebody whose family he had just killed prepare him dinner. Okay. So she poisons it. Muhammad watches a guy who is eating this food drop dead, and he still eats it. And how did Muhammad, and the poison didn't kill Muhammad outright, but it slowly was attacking his body. How does Muhammad describe the experience? As having his aorta cut. What was the penalty that Muhammad said a false prophet would receive? Is that to me sounds like a deathbed confession?
That's why so often enforces all this stuff.
Islam is spread at the tip of the sword. And that's what Allah and Muhammad commanded it to be. Why? Because they knew it was too batshit crazy for anybody to actually voluntarily follow this shit. And remember, this is the religion of peace. Isn't that what we're always told? Islam's the religion of peace? More like
What?
the religion of pieces.
Well, because some idiot somewhere said that Islam meant peace, and Islam means
Subjugation.
subject or
Yeah.
subjugation, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Submission.
subjugation to Allah. Oh, by the way, Muhammad, when he first was supposedly being given these revelations, thought he was being visited by a demon and repeatedly tried killing himself and failed every time. The man couldn't competently jump off of a cliff.
It's pretty sick, man.
It's true.
It's no wonder that the left and Islam get along so well.
Yeah. Muhammad suffered from the same mental disorder Joe Biden does. What is my
Circle back.
Huh?
Circle back is supposed to be quitting at the end of the year.
Now what are we talking about? I think I've thoroughly thrashed Islam right now. And that was without even really trying. I mean, I could go into how Islam says that we're supposed to follow the Bible. But if you do that, you don't follow Islam because the Bible clearly states that it warns against the coming of false prophets.
Well, see, that's one of the places where, if you're looking at it from a non-spiritual point of view, say that I'm Muhammad and I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to write my holy book to set my legacy up. If you go back into the Bible, when Ishmael is kicked out and told to go, he's also blessed. And he's told that God will make him a great nation as well. And that's where Islam really started.
Well,
if you want to look
that's
at
where
it.
the Arabic peoples come from, at any rate.
And they could have just drawn straight from there and went as the heirs to the throne, as opposed to really it's a conquest manifesto. Is
Yeah.
really all the Quran is.
Yeah. Islam is a death cult whose holy book is a directional manual on how they are to govern the world once they take over.
Well, they kind of like Joe Biden. They plagiarized everything.
Oh, yeah.
They stole the New and the Old Testament and just added what's his face, the leftist pedophile. What's his name again? Muhammad as the top dude.
Yeah. If you look at everything that's in the Quran, it's all taken from somewhere else. Every single thing in there. Muhammad took a bunch of stories that he heard other people say, and he couldn't read them for himself because remember, he was illiterate. Which, right then and there, who makes an illiterate caravan robber their prophet? That's the best Allah could find.
Well, there's really no comparing the Bible to the Quran. I mean, they're exactly the opposite.
Mm-hmm. And the hoops that Muslims go through, because if you read the requirements for a prophet in the Old Testament, they have to perform miracles. Muhammad performed absolutely zero miracles. And the hoops that these people jump through to explain why he wasn't required to perform miracles to be a prophet is ridiculously astounding.
They also claim that if you're Jewish, then you should just continue being Jewish.
Yeah,
That's
and
what
if
you
you're
should.
Christian, yeah, and to continue being Christian if you're a Christian. You're to follow the books that were given to you according to the Quran, but then later on they say that the Torah and the gospel were corrupted and cannot be followed.
Well, that's
Which one is it?
they claim that the Jews, the reason that God's mad at the Jews is because they rejected Jesus. But then they say that Jesus is not good either.
No, Jesus is one of their 12 great prophets and isn't really the Son of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they claim that how could he be God and die?
Well, no, they don't even claim that because they claim that he was never the one actually crucified, that somebody else took his place and then they just stole the body.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people argue that, like, on the street talking to people.
Well, that's in the Quran. That's not just the argument. That's actually in the Quran.
Well, I'm talking about the Jesus being God and how could
Yeah.
God die argument.
Oh, yeah, that argument, yeah. Yeah, they'll say that. You follow a God that died. Well, you know what? You follow a goddamn prophet who couldn't read and write his own goddamn holy book.
That's one of the things, like, about the Bible. The Bible, if you read it, pretty much there's. I'm not going to get into that. No, we'll just stay on the surface of it. But if you read the Bible and let it be read as what it is, it's not a book, it's not a novel. So you have to understand that first. Then you can understand a lot of the the topics in the Bible. The Quran is, like I said, it's kind of like Clockwork or not Clockwork Orange. What's the Johnny Depp movie about Las Vegas? It's like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas in a holy book.
Yeah, if you look at the way that the Old Testament is written in the Christian Bible, the Old Testament is a history book. It's showing the history of how we got to what transpires in the New Testament.
For the most part, yeah. This movie's not going to show us this hot toddy footage, apparently.
Yeah. Says he made the hot toddies, probably will have to scrap the footage. So, what are your views on the Pope?
I think he's a child molester.
Well, he's a liberation theology communist.
I mean, I'm sure that there's plenty of Catholics out there that I'm going to offend, but uh, Catholicism is a horror religion, and it's in no way, shape, or form representative of Christianity and biblical Christianity.
No, it's not. You always hear Catholics, it's the religion is founded by Christ. No, it's not actually, because Christ wasn't founding a new religion. Christ saw himself and his followers as just being Jews.
Well, I mean, Jesus pretty much warned them. He said, all this theological stuff about, this one that begat this one that begat this one and the old traditions and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to be burdened down with that anymore because there's a New Testament involved. And we can be free from that. And we're not doing away with all that. We're not saying all that is moot. But what we're saying is there's this way in.
Yeah,
To hang all the commandments on love thy brother, that kind of
right.
stuff. Where Peter, if you're If you want to take it just like Peter started the church, if you want to put it that way, which is kind of not true in the first place, but since it's
Mhm.
written that way, he did the exact opposite. Because if you look at the Catholic Church, it's a complete and total snapshot of the Sanhedrin.
Yeah.
And Jesus said, don't do that.
If if you look at history, do you know where the term Christian actually came from?
It's a pretty much, I don't know if it's a racial slur, but it's an insult.
Yeah,
And
it's an insult that was hurled at the followers of Christ by the Romans.
right.
It was their way of demonizing them, and it stuck. I mean, it's like, hey, we're going to take that word and we're going to make it mean something.
A lot of times, what I think Christians fail to understand is the majority of the New Testament is written to the Jews too, not you.
Yeah, it's written
And
to the Jews, the Greeks, the Romans.
well,
Yeah.
when
Well, particularly
you're talking biblically, you only have two. You have Jews or
no,
children
look
of
at the
Israel,
writings of
Hebrew.
Paul. Look at the
Right,
writings of
listen
Paul.
to me. Listen to me. You're not listening to me. There's two classifications of people in the Bible. Only two.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's Jews
Hebrews
and
and
Gentiles.
Gentiles. Yeah.
So that's what I mean when I'm talking about it that way. Everybody that's not a Jew is a Gentile. Everybody.
Yeah. But my point was, if you look at the way Paul wrote, what Paul wrote, he was writing to specific groups. He was
Gentile.
writing to Greeks. He was writing to Romans. That's
Yeah.
why you got the books of the Bible that are Romans, Corinthians, Thessalonians.
Right.
Those are cities in Greece and Rome, in Roman Empire.
Those are all Gentiles.
Yeah.
Which Jesus forbid the disciples to mess with. Christians want to jump into a bunch of the Hebrew part of like the Gospels and Acts and different stuff like that, and say this is how we're supposed to live. This is how. No, you're not Jew. You're not a Jew. That's written to the Jews. Jesus says right here specifically. Peter says, "Hey, should we go over here to the Gentiles?" And Jesus says, "No, don't mess with those people." The Gentiles came to Jesus and he said, "Go away from me because I'm not here for you."
Right.
Over and over and over again. And Christians can't get that. They think that the whole Bible is written to Gentile Christians.
No, only specific parts, the parts that were written by Paul.
Right.
Paul was the one that was supposed to take the message to the Gentiles. The disciples were to give the message and teach that message to the Jews.
Right. He likes the brandy better than the whiskey.
Yep.
But it tastes like cough syrup. I think that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the point, man. That's basically what it's supposed to be.
Too much lemon.
And that's why you put the tea in it.
Did
The
you
tea
make
that-
Long Island iced tea on your channel yet, Squib? I can't remember. I
when
think you're
does
supposed
one?
to drink them when you're sick.
Yeah, there's hot toddies for medicinal purposes.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Squib. I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, he's taking one for the team there.
That's right. No Long Island iced tea yet. I remember the area that I live in now. When I first moved up here years ago, I went to no, I was still in high school. That's right. I went to one of our, I can't remember, I think I was a junior, and I went to our homecoming game, and was standing out in the parking lot, and one of my friends walked up to me with a cup. I was like, "Here you go, man, hit this." And I started drinking it. It was really good. And he was like, "You can have the rest of it." And it was still like a pretty good size cup full, uh, like a medium coffee at Dunkin' Donuts.
Mhm.
I don't know if you're from, I don't know what a medium coffee looks like everywhere, but maybe like a medium type of coffee full. I drank it all and was pretty lit and I enjoyed it. And I asked him what it was, and he said it was Long Island iced tea. And I've never had one since then. It was really tasty. I just don't know if I have no idea what he gave me. It just tasted good. It got me drunk.
Yeah. I was at a party with my ex girlfriend once. This is in high school. She comes up to me. You remember those big plastic cups you used to get when you ordered a pizza that would be full of like Pepsi?
Yeah.
She hands me one of those and says, "Drink this." I was like, "What is it?" She's like, "Just drink it." It looked like Coke or Pepsi, and so I killed it. I just threw it back and just guzzled the whole thing. She just like sitting there looking at me like, "What the hell?" I was like, "What?" She's like, "How could you drink all that fast?" I was like, "It was just Pepsi or Coke." I forget which one I said. She's like, "No, that was Jack and Coke. I mixed that like." She's like, "I mixed that like a fourth of the bottle, fourth of the way, with Jack, and the rest was Coke, and you just guzzled that." I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, I sure did."
You see Squib's comment? He said, "I almost swallowed a whole clove."
Yeah, I saw that. See, we told you not to use cloves, man.
Told you not to use cloves. I told you cloves ruin everything.
Yeah, we warned you. Yeah, if you'd have choked on that, that would have been your own fault.
Oh man, I'm going to bed. Let's hang out. I'm hungry, so I gotta go to sleep.
You're hungry, so you gotta go to sleep.
Yeah,
You're gonna dream about food and eat the dream food.
I'm hoping I sleep my hunger away or I fall asleep. I don't want to go get any food.
Man, you live in Baltimore. You can probably find some places open 24 hours down there.
I mean, there's places open. I just don't. I'm not going outside. I don't feel like.
That's what
I
delivery's for.
got food upstairs. I got food in my house. I'm just not gonna go get it.
That sounds like laziness to me. Going back to Snob's comment earlier. Squibs.
Yeah, Squib.
God, I can't. I'm getting tired too. Can't even get names straight at this point.
He nailed it, man.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess it is. It is after 12, so I guess we can start wrapping this up. I mean, who have we offended tonight? We've offended Catholics. We've offended Muslims. We've offended just about everybody, I think. So
There's plenty of people we left off the chopping block. But
yeah. Well, some of it can be inferred to include everybody. Yeah, I mean, you had Squib out there calling everybody morons. So I mean,
Cheerios maybe calling my name.
have you tried the blueberry Cheerios?
No.
It kind of tastes like the cereal part of blueberry. It kind of tastes like that, and it gives you like blueberry flavored milk.
I saw a commercial for the something delight. The coffee creamer,
Mm-hmm.
a real popular one in a weird bit shaped bottle.
Yeah,
And the commercial was for Fruity Pebbles flavor.
yeah.
Maple Cheerios, he said.
My favorite coffee creamer is eggnog, which is why it pisses me off that they only sell it so many, certain times a year. I mean, eggnog in coffee is freaking awesome. If you haven't tried that, do half a cup of coffee, like a tumbler size, like my Sheets tumbler, something like this. Fill it halfway with coffee and the other half of the way with eggnog, and stir that up. Oh my god, that is so good.
Yeah, I meant to try that. You remember you told me about that.
What pisses me off is you can't find the pumpkin eggnog anymore even when it's eggnog season. That's like drinking a pumpkin pie. It tastes just like pumpkin pie if you like pumpkin pie, but you can't
No,
find it anywhere anymore.
it's nasty.
Yeah, you don't like pumpkin pie. You're one of those weird people. You don't like anything.
It sucks. Sometimes I look at some of that stuff and I'm like, man, that'd be pretty cool if I could eat all that crap. But I know it's all nasty.
Yeah, he's like Mikey from the Life cereal commercials. And we gotta have Kingpin sit down and give him a bowl of Life cereal and see if he likes that.
Well, like they're talking about black coffee. Squib and Travis P11, they do their coffee reviews. And when I first started drinking coffee, it was a little bit of coffee with all my sugar and cream.
Hmm.
And I've cut back quite a bit of that. I'm cutting back on the sugar and the cream and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know if I got black coffee up my sleeve. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not too keen on just straight black coffee either. Now, which coffee creamers you get? The one that's like the vanilla and stuff. Was that the Delight or is that a different brand? Yeah, it's the one that goes in the fridge. Is what I'm talking about. But it was the Delight vanilla that you get. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, the Delight. The French vanilla Delight's pretty good. I like that in coffee. But my favorite's going to be I gotta say it's the eggnog. That eggnog and coffee just is really good. Yeah, yeah. And you can Irish the eggnog in the coffee too if you're into that kind of stuff.
Irish talk that's adding alcohol, right?
Well, the eggnog traditionally is served with brandy in it, or brandy or rum. So
I don't like messing with that alcohol.
yeah, I don't drink it, but I'm talking about for like a Squib or Makoja who, remember they're the guys out there talking about the alcohol stuff. So
Like that's my thing. Coach Joe is Dunkin' Donuts coffee. I I used to get it with extra cream and extra sugar. Now I just get it with cream and sugar. And I don't drink like coffee. If I make a coffee at home and I don't put a lot of cream or sugar in it, I can feel the caffeine kick in. But if I go to Dunkin' and get a coffee, it's for the flavor and the taste of it. The caffeine thing usually does. I usually don't unless I drink it really really fast. I don't usually drink coffee to like wake up or nothing like that.
yeah, Squib says he'll drink for us because to show that he cares.
I'm telling you, he's a good dude.
Yeah, thanks, Squibby. Yeah, I got a coffee cup that Squib sent me. Arizona Ghost Riders Cup. I don't know if you've ever watched that channel. They do like Western history stuff.
Yeah, I've heard about it. Either you or Scooby talking about it.
Well, yeah, we've been trying to wrap this up for like 10 minutes now.
Yeah, I'm just getting hungry. Cheers, Squid.
Yep. So, you got anything to say before we get out of here other than what we've already said?
Oh no, man. Everybody take it easy. Have a good night.
On that note, now that we've offended everybody that's out there in the world, we will say good night for tonight, and we will see you tomorrow night for This Week Unloaded, where we may end up offending more people, which, you know what? As Bill Maher says, and it's one thing I agree with Bill Maher, nobody has a right to not be offended. And we'll leave on that note. Have a good night, folks.
Trash about Bill Maher too.
Huh?
I said we can talk a bunch of trash about him too.
Oh, good God. that will be a series of episodes.
All right.
Yeah. But anyway, good night, people. Bye-bye.
See you.